Welcome back, everyone, to ESA Cup Season 7. It's the second day of the second round of the second phase of this competition. I'm Pasta. I am joined by Pooble over there. That's
A
Pooble.
lot, a lot of twos today. I didn't really notice that, so it's a
And
nice
it's on
bit
a
of.
Tuesday
Oh, the second day,
of the
lots of twos.
week.
It's all coming together. That's all I can say. There's some kind of conspiracy getting proven by this. I'm just not sure which one.
Illuminati something something.
Whoa. Okay, let's. We're
Donald
we're
Trump.
gonna
I
keep
don't
it
know.
vague. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about. The kind of big thing you're probably wondering is we would usually be coming here talking about how new season, lots to unpack here.
Oh,
Not the
yeah.
case. Unless you're one of those unfortunate Xbox players who've kind of been locked out of the game, we're still in heavy metal. So no new operator yet, no new map yet, none of those balancing changes coming in yet. So still just the same old siege, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just the previous season pretty much, but that means we've still got some upgrades, still got T Hunt if you want to warm up with T Hunt instead of some AI stuff, and also it's just a bit more familiarity. There's some other balancing changes that would have come into effect that would have been affecting the game. So yeah, and there's another big sort of elephant in the room. Yesterday
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about this, don't we?
We've
Okay.
we've got to talk about it. I think you're a bit more clued in than I am, Joe. So I'll let you explain this one.
Thank you for shifting it all on me. So the
No
final
problem.
day of yesterday's play day, I think we have a bracket we can show up. It might not be fully accurate, but it shows which teams are where. And you can see there was a match between Minions and MVG.
Yeah.
Minions ended up getting out of that with a 1-1 scoreline now in the overall Swiss stage. MVG unfortunately going down 0-2. It wasn't always that way, Cameron. Originally,
No.
it was an MVG 8-6 win, and then we had some protest about a skin from one of the MVG players. So it was sort of, I think, quite fairly made I believe it was a whole round replay. Sometimes
Yeah.
it would usually be like, in some cases, you would get like a 3 round win, but it was a full round replay. So it goes from 8-6 down to 7-6. And this is where things get a little bit interesting for Minions because they win that match. They end up going 7-7. Unfortunately, that hope was then ever so quickly torn away from them, and it was an 8-7 win for MVG, if not for another skin protest, resulting in Minions winning the match 8-7 with 2 out of those 3 overtime rounds won by Minions by a skin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened. So Minions, we were bigging them up and we said they had quite a almost an uncharacteristic loss. Obviously, I believe Minions played 4v5 in that very first
Yeah.
round of the Swiss, so things weren't already looking well for them. But we thought, oh well, they can bounce back. They have, maybe not under the most convincing circumstances.
But hey, a win's a win, and
Yeah,
that's what's important. Obviously, that means that MVG also go down to the 0-2. They'll be having to play best of threes from now on. But let's move on to today because all of this so far has been on the past. We're going to start ourselves off with Flawless 7 versus Aspire by Team EOS. Now, these teams have a little bit of history, it looks like, Joe.
absolutely. We've got 2 sort of past meetings between both these teams. I believe it would be the same roster as well. I don't think there's been any sort of major transfers, and it's been kind of neck and neck, really. 2 very close matchups. Unfortunately, only best of 1 series, so we haven't really seen them both fully match up against each other in a very kind of deep matchup. Instead, ESA group stage 7-5 win to Flawless 7, but in RSX they did end up losing 8-6. So very close. 1-1 either side. So this is sort of the decider in this little mini series that's spanned across stages, spanned across tournaments. And it's really kind of up to either of them. There's no sort of clear winner going into this. They're both in the same position in the Swiss stage as well, losing that first matchup. So it could really go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And just having a look at how they lost it. Flawless 7, it was a 7-5 loss against Mafia Squad. Aspire, they had a bit of a rougher time of things. It was a 7-3 loss, but they were playing Linard's Defense League, who are pretty much the core of that roster are last season's champions. So you've got to give them a little bit of leeway inside of that one, um, just in terms of they were playing the last season champions, very, very strong opponent. You can't really expect them to come out with a win. Obviously, it would be nice, but hey,
Hmm.
that's where it's fell at the end of the day. And speaking of the end of the day, let's actually kick off the start of the day with our map veto. Let's have a look at where these teams are thinking of going because their previous matches were on Chalet and Border. Let's have a look where we find ourselves today.
Well, one of those matchups is definitely going to be relevant. We're back on Chalet. Hopefully, we'll have a bit of a cleaner end than our last matchup here in the ESA Cup because that was the already seemingly infamous MVG Minions matchup yesterday. So we're hoping for some a bit of a cleaner game from both these sides. But yeah, this should really, you'd think, favor Aspire by Team AOS because they did win that last matchup. But at the same time, it was very, very close.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see Border made it all the way to the end there as
Mm.
well. So, both these teams clearly they have a map pool that they like playing against each other. It comes down to Border and Chalet both times there. And Oregon was banned by Aspire, so already I'm a little bit happier that we get to see them playing and might be rooting for them just a little bit. So let's have a look at the predictions then, where all of our lovely, lovely casters thought this match would go. It looks like
Is that a
Flawless
clean
7
sweep?
pretty much all the way. I think we've got a second slide here. The Flawless Seven are very much in the
Ooh.
lead. Rowan actually going with Aspire, so we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. Everyone else, Flawless Seven, and I believe we might be able to see the community vote as well to just to see where that one also ends up. And indeed, yeah, Flawless Seven very much the favorites.
Yeah, you can't really blame them. Obviously, they were both in the same group, so already we've seen a very recent matchup that did go the way of Flawless Seven, who did finish that group flawless. Not entirely flawless points wise, but still 0 losses is the big thing there. So already that's kind of going towards Flawless Seven, and I was very confident picking Flawless 7 going into this,
Yeah,
but seeing it's now on Chalet, seeing that Aspire are starting on that defense, they have a sort of a much bigger chance than I think the community is giving them here. 13%, when in reality, they could very easily sort of string together a few rounds in that first half, that more comfortable half here. And if they get into the swing of things onto their attacks, we could easily see a bit of an upset here. But at the same time, Flawless 7, they're flawless for a reason in that group. They did
yeah.
incredibly well. There was a bit of a blip at the start of the Swiss stage, but still they've done very, very well so far.
Another thing to point out as well is that Flawless 7 are having to play with an emergency substitute. Um, so that's another factor to sort of play into things here. They've got Nasty stepping in for them just for this match. So again, it's another factor that we might have to see how it goes. Um, and we have an interesting statistic here that I'm hoping Voigt can pull up here on the team card of Flawless 7. Um, Chalet supposedly the worst map for Flawless 7. Obviously, um, I think that might just be because that's the map they lost on against Mafia Squad. No, that was Clubhouse. So I don't entirely know what the statistics are for that, but according to the OPL stuff we have, Chalet is supposedly their worst map. And if we look over at Aspire, then it's a bit of a different story. Border supposedly their worst map. Obviously, those are the two maps that these teams have played each other on. So, bit of a question mark there, but still a little.
Oh, I think we've lost Cameron, but I think I can tap into my psychic powers a bit, try to finish that point there. But yeah, we've seen that these teams have actually chosen to fight each other multiple times on sort of weaker ground. Charlie, obviously, being on OPL, the worst side for Flawless 7 and Border there for EOS. Now, looking at Wikipedia, which they do share some statistics, but some tournaments only in OPL don't have a Wikipedia page. Some tournaments don't use OPL. So we get a little bit different data here. We can see for Aspire, they are 0 and 1 Oh, sorry, my mistake. That's Border. They're 7-8 on Chalet. So they've played it quite a lot, but they haven't actually won it that much compared to their losses. So already you're looking a bit shaky going into that, but you've got a lot of experience under your belt. Heading over to Flawless 7, Chalet is 1-1. So still sort of not the greatest when you compare to some of those other maps. Just looking at Bank 5-0, Border 2-0. You've still got a loss there, but Flawless 7, maybe just due to playing less matches, have managed to sort of rack up more impressive win-loss records here. So they're definitely coming into this the team that should win. Obviously, we've discussed there are a matter of factors that could lead to Aspire end up taking this win, though. They've got a sub for Flawless 7, Aspire starting on the defense, and it's on Chalet, the map that they won in that series in RSX still. It did go OT, so we should expect a close matchup here, and we're about to get into the map very, very soon. But still, there's very much a possibility for Aspire to end up taking this win here. It's by no means out of the question, as we do have all 10 players in lobby now, so we should be heading in to Chalet very, very soon now. We're just getting it done. I'm also hoping that my wonderful co-caster is going to return at some point. I think I've heard a little Discord thing, so we should hopefully be getting Pasta back in here soon. So you can have a bit of a break from my rambling, but still, it's about to kick off. I can see the lobby is ready. The lobby must have started sort of 2.5 minutes ago. We're going into Chalet. I should have a second caster with me very soon, hopefully. But until then, it's unfortunately just me. I'm afraid to say, still not got his camera up yet either. So I don't know where Pastor is currently, but I do know that we're heading to Chalet into the ban phase. Flawless 7 versus Aspire by EOS. This final round of this sort of lower losers bracket in the second round of the Swiss. So loser here won't be eliminated, and the winner won't auto qualify either. There's still quite a bit to play for and quite a lot of chances for both these teams here. As we start off with a Ying ban, very, very popular for a lot of attacking sites. The most banned attacking operator in the most recent major. So even at that highest level, Ying is just not a very popular operator to defend against at all. And you can't really blame them. So much utility is brought by that single operator. It just makes the whole clearing process so much easier. So a lot of teams just tend to opt out of that, and not getting banned as well. A little bit more sort of perplexing there, as I do see my screen light up. Pasta, I believe you're back. I'm going to hope that
Hello.
everything is sorted. Oh, we're getting audio, so can confirm Pasta is back, and you've not missed any of the action yet.
Well, that's at least nice to know. I am a real big fan of British internet service providers. It's really fun. I don't know what else to say. Meanwhile, in the bans, the funny thing is, I could hear everything that you said that entire time. So I already know what these first two bans are. Azami and Femrit as well, very popular defenders to ban away. It's not really a surprise to see them coming out, especially on Chalet. Azami can be very, very strong.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we always see sort of two of those three of Azami, Fenrir, Solus being banned, maybe Tubaram as well. When we get to that new patch, we might end up seeing them very quickly enter this sort of must-ban vortex of defenders we've seen recently. So no surprise to see them taken off the board. The Fenrir as well. There's a lot of tight angles on Chalet, a lot of harsh corners too that the attack have to go through. So dealing with an operator makes the clearing process, makes the execute process a lot easier. And we did see a blitz getting flashed by Flawless 7 there, instead opting for the other shield operator. So it still looks like they're going to go for some kind of lengthy clear there, just trying to deal with each individual room as best as they can, giving themselves a lot of intel. But these multi-strats, they're oftentimes sort of a bit of a risk because you're sacrificing a primary weapon there. So it's still a gamble for Flawless 7 here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly a risk that might come back to bite them, but also has the opportunity to be possibly one of the best things they could have ever decided to do. Already getting some information there just by virtue of being able to stick the Montaigne in the doorway, already sneaking up these stairs as well. Carol's going to need to be careful because there are quite a few angles that these attackers are already holding from the outside that could be able to deal them a lot of damage, such as Matty here over on that big window, already taking Carol down to about 60 HP.
Yeah, and I was going to say, still 5v5, but Future taken off the board. That's Becky getting one. Nasty, the sub as well, getting in on the mix. That's Carol taken down. 5v3 now on these Aspire defenders. Forced to get a lot more aggressive. Schneily there on the Jaeger, trying to get one pick, and indeed he does. Collects as well, collects one. 3v3 now, as suddenly this isn't as one-sided as we first thought, Pastor.
Absolutely. Aspire just being able to bring things back a little bit. Phasen's taking some damage as well. Snaily does find a kill as well. Now Flawless 7 are in the disadvantage, and they've got a Montaigne as well, which is not necessarily the best gun to try and take gunfights with. The impact grenade comes out, Phasen taking a lot more heat. Just Matty, who's on full HP for this attack inside of Flawless 7, sneaking his way down through Fireplace, trying to catch some of the Aspire defenders out on these long angles, and possibly might be aware of the position downstairs as well.
Yeah, Phasen's getting very, very aggressive here on the Monty. He's trying to even out this man count because that's the best thing they can possibly do. Once they try and stick a plant, suddenly Matty at the moment would be forced into a 1v3, so evening the odds beforehand is the best strat they can try here, but everything is going against them. Angles being held everywhere. Matty's scared away with a bit of that damage, and Phasen still playing by the blue stairs. Pistol in hand, there's a missed shot. Matty doesn't notice, though. All on Phasen in the 1v3 now is he's getting swung from all angles on that Monty, trying his best. No one's managed to take him down yet, Cameron, but still, so much time for these defenders to just wait here.
Yeah, Phasen takes one gunfight, takes two. The swing comes out, somehow still alive, pushing on forwards towards Mudroom and trying to take the gunfight. The melee isn't quite good enough, though. Keeks is able to lock that one down. And that's the first round on the board for Aspire. It's a bit of a shaky start, though, Joe.
It was shaky, but a round win is still a round win. It's a great way to start off that defense here, and Chalet to just keep the momentum rolling here. Once again, seeing that blitz flashed early on, so it's very obvious there is a strat that they are just anticipating here. There's a sight they're anticipating from Aspire here that heavily relies on what could be quite a quick push here, as you see Hatchy on the Ash as well. But the question is that going to be Kitchen, though? Because it definitely wasn't Boring Gaming. We saw that swapped out for the Montagne, so still all eyes on Phasen here, because Blitz strats, again, very risky. It's sort of all or nothing, and if F7 go down 2-0 here to start off with on Chalet, things could get a lot worse for them, seeing as you're giving Aspire so much so early on. They only really need to win 3 of those defensive rounds. Chalet, I believe, still sticking fairly even, so they're 1/3 of the way to a not lost half here, and that's already a bit of a worrying prospect for F7, who are kind of predicted to be the victors in this.
Well, I can give you a quantitative number on that. Of the 139 Chalet rounds played, 78 of them, that's 56%, have been won by the attack. So it's almost even, possibly looking towards a 4-2 attack and half 3-3, that sort of split in your sort of average game here on Chalet, at least in ESA Cup Season 7. So, yeah, they've stuck the blitz, so clearly this is what they were looking for, to possibly just try and clear out this top floor, gain a lot of control very quickly, and be able to... Never mind. You know what? I'm going to stop trying to read into that, because clearly I don't know what the hell I'm on about.
Yeah, Phasen looks to be just trying to clear some defenders in games. Sometimes you see players getting very aggressive, trying to go for peaks or run out. So Phasen clearing those positions preemptively. It's actually a trade directly. Matty taken down with his Claymore put just after death, taking down Carol there. So it's a direct 1-for-1, but you'd still favor that in the defense. All the active utility on the Ash gone, and those castle barricades, as we can see, already placed down. Carol's done his job excellently there. Oh, and Snelly even more so takes on Hatchy there, 3v4. It's forcing F7 to try and do something on this top floor, but they can't get anything done. Snelly's getting a second here, 2v4 now.
Yeah, Phasen now trying to push their way in on the blitz. Round the corner, the flash goes out, pistol through. But Saki's there from Solarium to make sure it's a 1 versus 3 for Nasty to win. Does have a 1.5 times scope on the R4C. Certainly not the worst weapon to try and clutch with. But these angles are being watched. Nearly just close on this corner. Is possibly going to be just able to swing and find this one. Actually whiffs the shot. And the follow-up doesn't land either. Nasty's at least found one, but still 1 versus 2, now incredibly low on HP. Still got a shotgun and a Vector and 2 C4s to try and come up against, all within this next 60 seconds. I'll be honest, Joe, it doesn't seem very possible.
Yeah, those C4s, they don't even need to be anywhere near a direct hit. Any kind of chip damage surely kills Nasty here, so he's got to play super careful, but he doesn't have the time to either. Less than a minute. As you said, he's got a good gun for the job, but the situation in general just isn't looking good for him at all. I don't even know if he's going to attempt to go for an execute here. Might just save that KD, still positive at the moment. Try and fish for some exit frags because, yeah, this is just unwinnable, really, unless there is a colossal mistake from Aspire.
Yeah, it does have control of this mirror window. That's at least something. Saki inside of West Main, just holding a bit more of a passive position. Not allowing Nasty to get any of this control. The C4 goes out, and that actually gives away the position of the mute, but straight into the line of sight. Keeks going to get shut down by that Vector there. 2 rounds on the defense for Aspire already. Chalet, not off to the greatest of starts to Flawless 7.
Yeah, great bit of discipline there in the late round by Aspire 2, not giving Nasty any real opportunity to even out that man count, both holding each other's backs, just playing around their setup beautifully there. And now we're reaching what could potentially be a bit of a worrying part for F7. We discussed how this is statistically an attacker-leaning map, and F7 have won neither of those first 2 attacks, and we're getting very close to at least a 3-3 split for Aspire there, and that would probably be a victory for them going into their own attacks here. So F7, they need to pick up the pace here. Once again, swapping for this blitz, but going back onto the book, and I think that's a much wiser decision. A lot of the attacking of this site revolves around vertical from below, and Buck's the only person who can really consistently do that. The other thing you may be looking at is frag grenades, but I don't believe F7 bringing any operators there that can have them. Obviously, Yana lost them 1 or 2 patches ago, so there's no chance for those vertical nades in the sort of last days we could possibly see them. This is going to be a very horizontal take here because, yeah, we're not even seeing that Buck now. I'm really confused as Nasty does swap there on the end, but there's just a lot of strange choices on this attacking lineup.
Yeah, for sure. It's raising a couple of question marks, at least for me, as to what we see coming through here from this attack. And we do have a lot of vertical play from this defense. Future's downstairs, all the way in the basement, just roaming, trying to catch in any of these entries from the attack. But they are staying fairly true to this top floor. Just Matty, really, is a player that's sort of floating around downstairs. Becky as well. Does need to be careful because I don't think anyone's watching for it. Becky does find the swing in, does find that first kill. In Future now, that's going to draw the rotation upstairs. They get off the drone at just the wrong time, and that's going to allow a free walk up here from the Solus. Becky might just be watching it though. Sends out the RCE. No, Fazen instead is ready, watching the angle. It's a 5 versus 3.
Yeah, almost a tragic bit of timing there for F7, but they make it work. 5v3, as you said, and this really puts them in a much more advantageous situation here because, once again, it forces the defense to get a bit more aggressive, to try and even out this man count. And F7, this time, have read into this beautifully. They're all teaming up now, making sure that no kill can really go untraded here. They're all taking each other's sixes. Really nice to see a marked improvement from that first round. And Hachi misses a couple of shots. Keeks tries his best to get one, but does manage to reposition, so at least gets something in this round, but his next position is also known, so he's just trapped in a corner. Nasty walks in, gets one, can't get the second, oh, does in fact actually. Plant getting stuck as well. 1v4 for Keeks. Nasty taken down, but Matty gets the pick instead. Flawless 7 finally show a bit of fighting spirit. They learn from their mistakes, and they get their first attacking win.
The target prioritization there from the defensive player. Just, I feel like could have at least tried to go. Obviously, it looked like they tried to go for the kill, then realized there was a player also there. Couldn't confirm it, couldn't get the kill onto the player swinging them either. It just works out very nicely for this Flawless 7 attack. Obviously, even if the target prioritization was a bit better, it's still a 1 versus 2, and I don't necessarily think that Keeks is going to win that one out. But still, could at least buff their stats a little bit, not that they need it. 4-1 already in this map. Certainly pulling their weight for the side of Aspire, as is Snaily. 5-2. The rest of the players aren't necessarily doing the best in the frag department, but they're not really required to at the minute. It's only been 3 rounds, and they've been 2 solid wins for this defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, 9 kills between 2 players is great such early on in the match. So Aspire, yeah, even if some of these players aren't exactly picking up the most, they haven't really been given the opportunity to, just judging from how good Sniley and Keeks have done here. On the side of F7, things are looking a bit more balanced, but importantly, they're still trailing in the round department. So it doesn't really mean that much. As we're seeing Phazon again on that shield, it didn't really work last time. There was a much more disconnected attacking side, I would say, that meant they couldn't get as much value there. So I'm intrigued to see if they continue for the same push. It looks like the same push. Phazon's likely going to get this door opened for him immediately, though, relaying the intel. Carol can't stay there for long, gets back to site. A better start here, I would say, although in that first round, they did end up getting 2 quite early frags, so they can't underestimate the firepower of Aspire here as Phazon gets taken down very low. A nice attempt at a Nitro Cell there, but doesn't quite finish the job.
If Phazon doesn't have a shield there, that is a certain opening kill for the side of Aspire. So good, at least from the primary utility there from the Monte, and just providing a little bit of safety, and still Phazon can apply some pressure on towards the upstairs, getting up these mezzanine stairs and constricting the defense here on the top floor. Keeks as well is just going to start to feel this pressure as there's drones coming in. The window to his left shot out as well. However, it is Becky who falls first. Carol getting that opening pick. Aspire looking good for it. Hatchie does trade. That's Keeks going down on the bottom floor into a 4 versus 4.
Yeah, and we almost saw another player on the defense getting dropped by Nasty, but the shots don't quite land as Carol now getting so aggressive. I'm unsure if there's a drone in this position. It must be, as there's a pre-fire. Nasty takes him out. 4v3 again in this advantage position for the attack, but they messed it up last time. Flawless 7 need to convert this into a proper execute. There's a ping on that player in the connector, but they can't get to him. Matty trying his best, gonna throw a nade in there instead. If it's cooked right, they could end up getting the pick, but no. Instead, the Aspire players remain. Future gets 1. Still a 3v1, though, all on Saki now. Behind a mirror window at least, but with so many angles being covered around him, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, watches one angle but can't find, well, any kills. It's just too much to handle. Matty gets the angle there, threading the needle in towards that connector area. There's another round for Flawless 7. We've been tied up, Joe. 2 rounds apiece.
Yeah, and importantly, that was a round that really kind of started quite poorly for Flawless 7, you could say. They were much slower at getting that opening pick, and on top of that, they actually, well, didn't even end up getting the opening pick of the round. They were down a man. But most importantly, this is where they failed in round 1. They managed to get a clean mid-round and a clean execute, and it resulted in quite a dominant win there, 3 players to none by the end. So much, much better from Flawless 7. Again, we're seeing that they're improving. They're taking these round losses on the chin, and suddenly, although the defensive side are close to that sort of coveted 3-round point, Flawless 7 aren't doing too bad themselves. They've evened it out. That's a lot of that pressure and that mental sort of obstacle blocked now. That they've completely gotten rid of it, as they've shown that they can hang with Aspire here. And at this rate, at this pace, Flawless 7 could easily go on to take these next 2 rounds, as we're seeing a drastically different lineup here. No blitz anymore. Instead, prioritizing that hard breach. It says to me we're going to see a much more sort of standard and robust vertical clear.
Yeah, still no vertical nades or butt available, but actually I've just misread the site. It's fine. However, you know, nades are still useful to clear out some of the utility, especially looking at those Vulcan canisters from Keeks as well. If you can get a nade in early, then you can take those out. Obviously, Matty with the Twitch drones is going to be providing some of that usage instead, just to try and counter the go-yo that we see being brought along by this Aspire defense. Carol's been forced away quite early, actually, from this top floor. Just too many shots coming through and no reinforcements there to back up the position. This means that he's just going to have to fall away. And goes the second Twitch drone for Matty and takes down the mirror window. Now that is big.
Yeah, that's a huge loss there. We saw that mirror window practically winning the round last time by providing that cover for Saki to hold that longer angle, protect his teammate in the 1v2. But Now with that gone, suddenly your sight is a lot less protected. You can't be holding these sort of free angles. With Hachi getting that opening pick onto Carol, things getting even worse. This machine that is the Flawless 7 attacks finally getting into gear as Hachi gets a second and gets out with his life. 2-man advantage here. Flawless 7 very close to winning their third in a row, and Matty getting another 5v2 now. Aspire really beginning to just sort of limp on by the end of this half.
Though the more unpopular weapons on their operators, PDW9 and the F2 still absolutely ripping into this Aspire defense. There is at least a trade from Saki on towards Hachi, so it's not quite the worst it could be. Now Future's taken down upstairs. It's a 1 versus 4. C4 goes out downstairs. There's West Main stairs providing a lot of impact as the push comes on through. Nasty's actually taken out by Saki, but still, these players are looking through. They've checked the wrong way. And suddenly, it's a 2 versus 4. And crucially, the diffuser still surrendered in the middle of the bomb site. Vulcan canisters still going off, flames blocking the entrance for these attacking players of Flawless 7. Saki's in a decent position here. Jones starting to come through. 30 seconds is still good enough to try and gather some of this information, but there needs to be a press on the go button soon. It might just come here with Becky. I'm unsure as to where Faison even is now, rejoining his teammate. As the smoke grenades come out, Saki's trying to pre-fire, trying to find anything. The push comes up close. Becky lands the shot. A little bit of BM just to rub the salt in the wound. Flawless 7. They've taken the lead here.
Absolutely. 3 rounds in a row now for this attacking force. And now suddenly we've kind of flipped the whole script from round 2. Now it's Aspire that are going to start feeling a bit worried, a bit nervous here, because at this rate, if it becomes a 4-2 half, that F7 are entering that defensive half on such a wave of momentum. 4 in a row is incredible. It shows that they've clearly woken up in this game, and Aspire, this is almost one of those must-win rounds here, or the map could just be over for them at this point. 4-2 with F7 looking so good would be a nightmare, really, for that defensive side heading on to their attacks. So they've got a lot of work here. Luckily, it's Bar Gaming. That site that they first won incredibly well. It was a nice comeback, 5-3 down, and then managing to get those picks. But we've seen that Flawless 7 even aren't falling for those same mistakes anymore. We've seen them drastically improve. So Aspire naturally are going to have to sort of improve their own strategies, change it up, because we've seen that it's only really a 1-round wonder. You can't win this round the exact same way. It just doesn't work. So despite getting that opening pick, I believe, in round 4, things just didn't go their way. So this is the real test for Aspire here. Can they get over that sort of rut they've been in these past 3 rounds and secure an even half?
Well, that certainly is the question. We've got an IQ coming through again. This is looking a lot of a better... no, it's looking a lot more similar to the lineup that we have coming through for that previous round, but we still do have Faison here on the Montaigne, which is really going to be sort of the focal point of this push, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's been playing that operator quite a lot, using it very well the second time around to really flush out those defenders, and that's what Flawless 7 need to do. They need to work around that Monty to gain space, to hopefully assist them in gaining picks, because when they play as a cohesive unit, they find a lot more success with those picks. Nasty though is holding a very, well, fittingly nasty angle on the top of this window, repelling there, trying to just catch one of these defenders off guard. Interestingly though, look at Faison. He's already managed to get very far through the map here towards Mezzanine with no resistance this time. These players on Aspire are playing so passively, they don't want to give up anything practically, and it's allowing for, although they are staying alive, F7 are still getting so much ground here.
That indeed they are. We can see the Montaigne just providing more of that pressure, actually unshielding, trying to bait Carol into a gunfight to step into some of these lines of sight that the other defenders are having. Instead, Faison nails the shot with the P9. Pistol's still good enough if you can hit the headshot, and that's indeed what Faison does. Now 5 versus 4 for the attack, in a decent place in terms of the man count, but that time is ticking down, and it's ticking down fast.
And they've still got to clear Keeks as well, but Faison's got his second. Hachi as well takes down that aforementioned Wamai, and suddenly the whole Aspire defense has just cracked apart. Sniley's going to have to play below in blue stairs to hopefully catch one player off guard. Saki too, trying their best. They're both in these very sort of ratty positions, holding these ratty angles, but there's just so many attackers alive for Flawless 7 here that you can't really rely on that. One of these players is going to go absolutely huge. At the very least, it's not going to be a flawless round to finish off this half. Saki gets one, but still, a Monty now relaying his position. There's just nothing he can really do here. His Fazen's attempting a second. Matty finishes him off. It's all on Sniley now, trying to get one, but can't. 1v4 as he descends into the basement. Becky catches him. And Flawless 7, it's not a flawless half. They didn't get that, but 4 in a row, still really damn good.
Yeah, they put on a tear through that latter quarter of that half. I mean, 4 rounds in a row, now you're coming into the defense with momentum. That's exactly what you need because, again, attack tends to have a better time. If you can get going on a good foot here, that might just send you through. Obviously, we saw 2 defensive rounds in a row from Aspire, and they still managed to lose a half, but now you have that entire history. The momentum is already high running into it. You don't have to create that with the first round of the half. Flawless 7 might be able to start to run away with this game.
Yeah, and although it isn't sort of the statistically favored side, when you've already had such a good sort of run in that first half, it's going to be so much easier. It's just going to feel this weight almost lifted that you've completed that sort of mini comeback in the first half. F7 are going to be playing with confidence here. They're going to be playing very aggressively, I'd imagine, just looking at this operator selection, seeing that Solace just off on the complete other side of the map. I'm going to imagine Maddie's maybe not going to run out, maybe not get that aggressive, but at the very least be playing to get these early engagements, these early picks, trying to just disrupt Aspire's game plan here because they've just got the confidence to do so. They've had the good track record so far in Chalet to allow themselves to have almost that freedom to just move around wherever they want. Snyder's going to try and catch them off guard with this, immediately just pre-firing through that window, but can't find anything. And now it's up to Aspire to try and clear what looks to be a very heavily fortified library.
Yeah, this is really where the defense of Flawless 7, they want to hold on to library for as long as they can. They've put all of their eggs into this basket to make sure that they absolutely have control of this position. Saki's got the ping on to Nasty, who's trying to swing these windows and actually manages to get away into a very strong position here inside the kill box. Hachi has to drop away, though, because of the pressure provided by those flame bolts from the Capitao of Future. But still, Flawless 7 have managed to hold on for a minute so far, and Aspire are still just trying to send drones in on through the window. They don't actually have any physical presence inside of the map at this point.
Yeah, and Nasty has been forced out of library. It looks, I'm not sure if they have boots in the ground in the map yet. No, they're still actually around the outside of library, despite it being clear. Hachi gets 5v4 now to send off to a good start. Nasty misses his shots, but very crucially, still maintains his position, and with Matty not too far behind him, this roam of F7 is still surviving really well. His facing gets a kill with the 6-12. Sniley taken down, making things even worse for the attack here. Keeks as well, so low after that engagement with Nasty as Hachi, keeping Future at bay, takes him out. This has been a fantastic defense from Flawless 7. It looks like maybe that first flawless round they were looking for.
Perhaps is the swing from Keeks. You've just cursed them immediately, but it is going to force a timeout through from Aspire. After this round, they will be putting pause onto this to try and halt the momentum, to try and have a chat about what's been going wrong, because that's 4 players left alive for Flawless 7. They've absolutely torn through this attack by Aspire, and I mean, that angle just to finish things off is just brutal.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to take credit for caster cursing. I don't know what was being attempted there on that pool table. What kind of nitro throw was there? That's not my fault. You know, I refuse to hear sort of allegations of a caster curse there, because that was never going to work, Becky. Come on. But still, Flawless 7 now get those 5 rounds in a row. And, you know, I can see why Aspire have taken a timeout here. A lot of the time we see teams just either not use that timeout, which is, I think, is a massive sort of waste of potential utility for your team, or they take it when you're at sort of looking down the barrel of match point. And at that point, you know, you're giving the opposing team a whole sort of minute to think about how they can finish their food. So I'm glad to see Aspire taking a timeout before sort of things get to maximum panic mode, but they should still be sort of panicking here. Flawless 7 have looked completely unstoppable after round 2 here, and it's just getting worse and worse now. They've had a great sort of springboard in their defense with what was probably should have been a flawless round there if it wasn't for a bit of silliness from Becky there. As Aspire have seemed like they just can't really get going in any of these rounds. They're constantly now losing that opening pick, and it gets even worse. They can't get trades either. They're just always being sort of 2 or 3 men down as Flawless 7 are just wandering into these gunfights and winning them.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Well, we've just got to hope that whatever talk they had in that timeout is the most inspiring thing you've ever heard, because coming back from a 5-2 deficit, especially now that Flawless 7 have won 5 rounds in a row, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. And Faison's using the Legion shotgun again. So you've got that whole mental aspect as well, dying to what probably isn't a very good gun at all, but yet Faison has somehow managed to get a pick with it. You know, all these things coming together are going to make this a difficult match for Aspire here. Luckily for them, though, they have got sort of the tools for the job. We're finally, maybe the first time we're seeing frag nades in this entire matchup. We're seeing Sniley on that gridlock there. Thermite being brought as well. I'm hoping that Aspire go for a similar vertical tick that F7 did, because they saw a lot of success there. But you can never be too sure with Chaoe.
Yeah, we did see a couple of sledge plays, but really not enough nade usage for my money. Nasty's position spotted out inside a mudroom, but doesn't deal any damage, doesn't get any damage dealt. It's just a clean sort of both players now moving away from that area. Keeks is inside the top floor already, though, as well, using this Finker LMG, which is not something that you normally see just at all. Ever since the LMG method died, it's just so uncommon.
Yeah, I think we might have seen Noodle playing it at the major, but it's a very unwieldy gun. After those first sort of 3 or 4 shots, total random spray. But Keeks, I guess, is hoping he can just land those first 2 or 3 shots. But you maybe shouldn't run headfirst in this gunfight, Cameron, because look at that utility. 2 nades, 3 finger boosts. He sort of needs to survive until a lot longer into the round here. Can't be giving up his life that early to Hachi, especially when no kind of utility has been placed on this wall yet. Finally, Saki's going to get it open, and now you could potentially see some of these attackers going for swings. But before Future, taken down somehow by Hachi. A bit of a misplay there from the entire team as Hachi now moves to relative safety at that door.
Just holding another aggressive angle. Faison's found another kill with the pistol. Becky's got a kill with a C4. It's a 2 versus 5 now for Aspire. Make it a 2 versus 4. Keeks and the LMG come alive, but there's utility taken away as well. That also shield taken out by an impact grenade from below. Sitting in this 4 versus 2. Just Saki and Keeks left for Team Aspire. And well, now just Saki. Keeks takes a swing. Nasty's got 2. And that's map point now for Flawless 7. 6 rounds in a row. And perhaps, just maybe, perhaps per chance, they could take the map in this very next round.
It's certainly not unlikely, just given the level of performance we've seen from F7 here. As we said before, you know, Aspire continually losing those men so early, and that was no exception. We saw F7 when they really sort of get in the swing of things, they will just keep getting these picks incredibly sort of early in the round there. And Aspire, it seems like no matter what they do, if they play fast, they play slow, they can't sort of deal with this anymore. Hachi, though, I'm not sure why we're bringing Clash. We saw this Clash basement play, I believe, last week. I remember seeing a Clash down in Chalet basement, and it didn't work. But maybe they're just relying on how good they've all been playing as a team so far, that if they're sacrificing one of those primary weapons, who cares? You're playing the Clash, you're relaying the intel, you're frustrating a team that has currently lost all of the last 6 rounds in a row. So, you know, maybe the fact that on paper it's not as good of a pick just doesn't really matter to this team anymore. The fact that they are feeling so confident in themselves, they can just pick what is really kind of a whole host of strange operators. I don't know if Faison's still on that Legion shotgun, but we haven't seen Alibi in a while, and even Warden sort of falling out of favor, but F7 just bringing these comfort picks to just try and get the edge over Aspire here.
Just again, it's playing with that confidence and maybe just a little bit of BM as well for this side. And yep, indeed, you have the 6-12 in the hands of Faison here. Playing the Legion. He's been spotted out on a drone. Definitely 2 drones, actually. Has to try and reload. There is an impact grenade in his pocket, but he's just going to try and stick around. Nasty's found a kill instead. Backing up his teammate. Hatchie's got one with the SPSMG. The Clash is secondary coming alive, and Future's not looking. Faison doesn't know either. They pass each other like ships in the night. Future now playing up these stairs. 3 versus 3. Somehow it's been brought back, and there's another almost kill. So much damage dealt to Becky, now dipping away, and Carol has another Suddenly Aspire in the advantage show.
Faison can still sort of play spoiler here. He's very clearly not noticed. They've not noticed that he's playing here. Sees the Ash, wants to get closer, gets the down, secures the pick. Doesn't quite fit through that rotate though. Caught by Carol now, making it a 1v2, and Becky's on such a low amount of HP. The only saving grace for the alibi is that rate of fire here. Such a blisteringly fast gun. They can, in theory, take out both these players if they get those headshots, but there's just such a health disadvantage. Just Saki on full health, Carol still over 50, but Becky is completely trailing with all 3 of those Prismas on the opposite side of where this execute is looking to come from. It's all going to be down to Becky with the gunfights here, and I'm just not sure if they have the health required to do this.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether Becky can get this. Another minute has gone by. The attack just trying to get some control. And actually, Becky now coming up these stairs. I don't think Carol's aware of it, but just the other side of the bar. Becky not looking for that position. These players so close to each other, they just don't know. Now the gunfight's happening. Becky with the bailiff out. And it's not going to land. Carol keeps the Spire alive for at least just one more round.
I think that's the second time a shotgun has run out of ammo there because they used it for a rotate and they didn't reload it. It sounded like the bailiff there just stopped firing. And when you see how low health the Nomad ended up being, it's really a shame. Still, Flawless 7, I'm sure they're not sort of too mad about that. Still, 6-3 up. That looked to be a bit of a funky strategy there in the basement, but they can go back to Bar and Gaming now, which is a much stronger site here. Faison not even opting for that Legion shotgun anymore. Flawless 7 locked in here, just trying their best. Although Capcan still maybe isn't the most usual site, it surely provides a lot more frying potential. Those EDDs dealing up a lot of chip damage. That gun as well is so good. We've seen it. A lot of success on Azami there, the same SMG. So it very much looks like Flawless 7 have had a bit of a fun round, and they're like, right, we just need to end this. We can't afford to let any momentum go the way of our opponents here. So they're just picking the operators that they know they can really sort of run around the map with and get these same kills, play this same style that they found a lot of success on.
Yeah, we might see a bit of a mirror of the first half if things get out of hand. Obviously, at Flawless 7, they've won the first 2 rounds of this half, and now they need to try and hold on to that lead. Because Aspire, if they win a second round here, then they're pretty close to getting that same record. Because there's a jump out from one of these defenders. I believe it's probably Matty that went for that. Deals a lot of damage onto Future. Everyone else coming away unscathed. The drones are spotting out Hatchie upstairs as well, so he's got to be on red alert. As the fire comes on through, there's a perfect catch. Schneely is going to catch off the rotation. Flawless 7, player disadvantage.
Yeah, and that right there is the problem with going for these comfort picks. You've got no one playing the sort of utility, no Wamai there. Hatchie is really in a sort of trap of his own making in that corner. Can't safely get outside, but Future, I believe, getting caught in the frost mat. Nasty securing that pick right before the Capital picks himself up. So still, it's a trade, a bit of a late one, but still 4v4. And once again, you'd say this goes in favor of the attack. Still a lot of utility for that Capital. Shouldn't have been ideally the one entering there and trading that out for a Frost who's placed those mats, placed those shields down. Flawless 7 are going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, defense can just wait for the time to tick down. Onus on the attack to be the ones that get their booties moving and actually find the aggression, obviously, until that diffuser is planted. So as this timer starts to tick down, we've already seen half the round go. the defense is going to be getting into a better and better position simply by not even doing anything, just the attack being slow. We can see more utility coming in. Library still pretty vacant here from the attack as we actually come even further now into the round. And Carol just needing to keep the line of sight there onto that default camera. Just utility being taken away from the defense, but it's taken so long, Joe.
Yeah, and that camera hack isn't really that big of a blow. There's no one playing around mezzanine. Instead, we've seen Flawless 7 opt to go for these more aggressive positions still. Nasty caught down, but they haven't anticipated Matty. Can't confirm that kill, but still does quite a bit of damage. And eventually, though, gets killed himself. 2v4, Flawless 7. They're kind of floundering here, to be honest, Cameron. They aren't doing that well at all this round when victory is so close, so firmly in their grasp, but they just keep letting it slip away. Faison now forced out of his position, gets caught as well. Sniley's done an incredible job, all on Becky in the 1v4.
Another clutch needed for Becky. Downs the first. That's Saki upstairs. Fine shots onto another. Keeks is starting to get the diffuser down, and Schneely swings round, takes the fight, and takes the kill. Takes another round for Aspire, 6-4, and suddenly overtime doesn't seem that far away.
Absolutely not. Flawless 7, they need to lock in here. They've just not sort of performed the same since that round 8. As we sort of alluded to earlier, it's a very similar trajectory so far. Winning the first 2, but very quickly the enemy catch up and you start to be sort of made a mockery of, it seems. Flawless 7 here, just losing gunfights that you'd think they'd be winning in that first half. They aren't playing with that sort of same quality in their mechanical ability, and I'm just not sure what's gone on there, if it's just a case of the match catching up with them, if Aspire now are the ones who finally warmed up to things. But it is looking sort of I wouldn't say scary for Flawless 7 yet. Still 2 more chances here. They can still pick whatever sites they want, but it's a bit unnerving to see a team just drastically sort of hit the brakes right as they get to that match point position. Luckily, we are seeing now a very, very, very sort of utility-focused lineup here. We're seeing those mirror windows that can be placed on site and by library. We're seeing the Frost that has seen a lot of success, but we're also seeing the Thorn. And that might just be designed at making the attacking team panic a bit around these sort of high-frequency areas, just with the threat of that. I'm not even sure what they're called. Razor Blue?
Oh, he's got it. Got it.
Yes.
That's the obscure siege lore, not any of the, like, where the operators come from, whatever. It's what Thorn's gadget is called. Because, let's face it, she is incredibly rare to see, not even just in competitive, but in ranked as well, in quick match. She is an operator that does not see a lot of play. We can see here that actually those magnets have started to be employed. Nasty now in a bad position. The Flames just reaching.
Future?
Future has had a team kill, though.
Oh,
That's not
Hachi.
ideal. Hachi somehow lives through that.
Yes, the UI lied.
Yeah, the indicator was red. Just trapped in the corner. Now the swing's going to come through from Carol, who loses the fight. And now Hachi's pulling the shield out, doing everything they can to stay alive in this, and has found a second onto Future.
What am I watching?
Suddenly, Aspire falling apart at the seams, and that is the question. What on earth is going on? What are we witnessing inside of this one? 5 versus 2 for Flawless 7.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Flawless 7 and credit to Hachi in particular getting those picks, but this isn't even Flawless 7 rising to the occasion. This is all of the sort of good qualities you've seen build up and Aspire in these past 2 rounds just flushed away. We're seeing them wander into the building, wander into these gunfights that Flawless 7 are winning by sort of pure chance there. They knew exactly where Hachi was. They had the Flores drone there. They knew he was in that box position, but there was seemingly no effort to get rid of him, as now it's a 1v5. Faison finally gets that pick onto Saki. It just keeps alone the 1v5, and Flawless 7 finally getting that flawless round, I believe, to finish it off and send themselves to that middle bracket of the Swiss stage. It wasn't flawless. No, wait. No, Hachi was down. Hachi didn't die.
Hachi was down. No, he got picked up as well.
Was flawless. Finally.
That round was silly.
It was a bit silly.
That was very silly. Um,
You still got to congratulate Flawless 7. They had a wonderful streak of 6
yeah.
rounds in that
Oh yeah,
match.
no, for sure.
It really looked to be going quite badly at the start, but they just picked themselves up and they really just got into it. Fantastic play from them. Props to them. Aspire, there was the sort of murmurings of a comeback in that second half if it wasn't for just a catastrophic round 9 there, I think. So
I mean,
unfortunate for them,
I
but
I don't know what
around
happened.
round 11, I can do maths.
7
Um,
plus 4 is 9.
wasn't looking at that. Okay, I was in the zone. I was in the zone. Don't bully me. I believe we have the bracket updated to show where these teams lie after this first match. Of course, this doesn't really represent the match orders or anything. This is just purely to show where each team is. So we see Flawless 7 in that middle bracket. Unfortunately for Aspire, it is now very quickly becoming do or die. They've got to play a best of 3 for their survival here, not just for promotion. They've got to go through 3 best of 3s now to get to that final. So it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it's a long old road ahead of Aspire, assuming they make it that far, obviously. Sorry, I'm still just baffled from whatever that last round was. Right,
Yeah.
okay. Lock in. We're here. We're in the post match. Yeah, it's a long road for Aspire, and that's really what they're gonna have to focus on, because even if you do make it to finals, with 3 best of 3s along the way, you're going to be showing so much of your map pool. You're going to be showing so many of your strats. Teams are going to be able to look at that, are going to be able to have an easier time against you in that final stage. And also, you'll be going in with a lower seed and we'll be playing higher tier opponent. It all just adds up to just be just the worst equation you could think of.
Yeah, I mean, you're down there with the leader of Group C, right? Tracker Clan, also
Yeah.
going 0-2. So even now, you've got sort of tough opponents you might have to face in a very sort of competitive match style in that best of 3. So we're really going to see the limits tested on a lot of these teams here. Meanwhile, Flawless 7, they've really managed to get out of a bad situation there. It looked the sort of tide seemed to be turning, but they lock it out. It wasn't the cleanest fashion. It wasn't maybe the most sensible fashion, but they lock it out. They get to that mid bracket. They've still 2 losses away from elimination and 2 wins, I believe, towards qualification. So they're in a much nicer situation, but still a lot to play for. They're by no means safe yet. It's only going to get more and more competitive as they get closer to those qualification spots. So for both these teams, a lot to take away from this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to wrap it up for our first game of the day. Flawless 7 versus Aspire by EOS ended up with a 7-4 victory on Chalet for Flawless 7. And coming up after this very short break, we'll have E-Wave versus AGM. You don't want to miss it. Stay there. Welcome back, everyone, to the stream. We've already had our first map. Now it's time for E-Wave versus AGM. I'm still Pastor, still joined by Pooble, and we have a bit of an exciting one on our hands, Joe, as we head from the low bracket into the high bracket.
Yeah, so already, these teams, they've done a lot better than our first 2 teams we saw in that high bracket, as you said. So 2 wins away from qualification. For one of them, after today, only a single best of 1 win towards getting to those finals. So there is a lot to play for here, and they've chosen quite a peculiar map to do it on. If we can get the map ban on the screen, it will actually, it's going to shock you. It's not Oregon, it's not Clubhouse, it's not Chalet, it's Consulate. And
Incredible.
personally, for us, this is the first time we've seen Consulate and casted Consulate. So you're in for a bumpy ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Consulate is not a popular map at all. This is only the 4th time it's been played in the series, so in the season so far, even. And I'm looking at statistics here as well. Nighthaven Labs has been picked a grand total of 0 times. So the new map's really not getting a highlight here in ESA compared to the 22 times that we've seen Oregon so far this season.
Yeah. They just like the sort of tried and tested stuff, I guess. A lot of teams have voiced their displeasure of Consulate and Nighthaven,
Yeah.
especially when they've been added to the map pool. Since then, I think they have found quite a nice niche to where sort of the better sort of teams, you're thinking more of those tier one teams, will tend to go in sort of best of threes to just try and throw a bit of a curveball at their opponent. Very rarely, though, do you actually see it in best of ones. And that's a real big surprise here, especially because
Yeah.
you know, usually you have, oh, if you lose Consulate, well, we'll probably have an Oregon, we'll have a clubhouse in the series. But Consulate here, it's just Consulate. So if your sort of strats aren't completely sound here, things could go very, very badly.
Yeah, there's one caveat, which is you don't see Consulate in best of ones unless you reside in South Asia, in which case it seems like every other map that they play over there is Consulate. So there's still a lot, considering we've had the major as well and everything. There's still a lot of work that we can see on Consulate that there are strategies that are starting to form that these teams can sort of adopt and take care of, considering we had stage two, we've had the major. A lot of these teams, especially W7M and, whoever else have Consulate in their lockers, and they have been able to show it on that bigger stage. So there will be things that do start to filter down that do make their way into what these teams play. So it's not necessarily going to be crazy if it as like or just as balls to the wall as if it was the first time we'd ever seen Consulate
Hmm.
in Pro League ever. There is a lot of VOD review that they can do to at least get something.
Yeah, I guess we can look at those team cards to just sort of give us a bit of a view as to how this might go. And immediately, E Wave, I'm seeing a worst and I'm seeing a Consulate. And unfortunately for them, it's on the same row. So it could just be down to a sort of small sample size. It could be down to the fact that maybe on
Yeah.
OPL they've played like two maps of Consulate and both of them they lost. But it's still a bit alarming, sort of seeing that and going into this matchup here, where if you're E-Wave, looking at Wikipedia stats, I'm seeing that E-Wave have played Consulate in sort of Wikipedia tournaments that are registered there. They've played it 3 times, and they've actually won it all 3 times. And
Huh.
I'm not, I guess in other leagues, I'm not sure what the stats are based on, but there might be some that just don't have Wikipedia pages, and maybe they've been absolutely sort of slapped around on Consulate. We don't know. In terms of stuff like ESA, Future RSX, though, that is sort of logged onto Wikipedia, it's looking quite decent, but it is a very small sample size, so you can't extrapolate too much there. Maybe they just played against 3 very weak teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, even those 3 maps isn't a necessarily massive sample size to go off of. So really, this is what I'm looking for, is what they can produce here and now, because that's where it matters currently, is here and now. Because, we can talk about the stakes again. If you win here, then you go up to that 2-0. You're just one map away from getting through to the finals as like a top seeded team. You lose and you start to head down into that middle bracket that already has a bunch of dangerous teams. We're looking at Wii Sports, we're looking at Windows Key, we're looking at Flawless 7, we're looking at Minions. These teams are very, very dangerous. And if you fall down there, then you're going to be in that scrummage with everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at their opponents then of AGM, we can try and gauge something this time. Luckily for them, we aren't seeing Consulate as the worst team, so as the worst map even. So already a bit of an improvement there, but we can see that AGM, they sort of seem to lack a bit in their fundamentals at times. Sure, Oregon is their best map, but Clubhouse is also their worst. So it sort of paints a very sort of contradictory picture there, that they're really good at a basic map, but it's also simultaneously their worst. So maybe Consulate is somewhere in the middle there, being a very differently played map. It's very large, there's a lot to cover. It similar in Bank in that aspect, is it's just such a big floor plan with a lot of other rooms to cover. So maybe we are gonna see a bit better performance from AGM here. Obviously, it's not their worst map. That's a big bonus for them. But the stats only really tell half the story. Speaking of stats, Consulate played once in terms of Wikipedia stats. I'm not sure if there's any more in OPL, and they've actually won it once. So they also have a somewhat flawless record, but we can tell from E-Wave's card It's not really flawless. There's other
No.
information eluding me there. So I'm not too sure about how AGM have performed on Consulate recently, or even how many times they've played it.
Yeah, but looking at the predictions, then obviously we can see the social vote currently 78%. With this new information, Joe, who do you reckon is going to take the series? And then we can see who you thought would take the series before this happened. We can just see Rowan and Ogon, they're both going for E Wave. So, yeah, with this new information, what are you thinking?
Well, as you can see, I went for AGM. I think it's only me and Max who went for AGM. And going on the Consulate, maybe I'm a bit more confident in that prediction. They're 1-1 on Bank, which is a very sort of similarly played map. 0-1 on Nighthaven Labs. So they've overall just played this kind of large style of map very, very few times. So it's sort of an unknown for them. I would go out and say E-Wave perform a bit better when it comes to the larger maps. They're 8-7 on Banks. They've played it quite a lot, but haven't touched Labs, at least on sort of Wikipedia stats. So I'm still going to lean towards AGM, but I think it's going to be very, very close.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see anything that is too one-sided here, just purely because Consulate, again, it's a map that's very defender-sided. Getting attacks in is pretty difficult. Although sometimes you will just have matches where the defense can't even get a look in. You have like 5-1 attack in halves, it makes it so overtime. But in general, Consulate tends to favor the defense, and it tends to favor the defense quite heavily. So even if a team's able to get like, say, 2 attacks, they might still then like lose or whatever, but it's still going to get close because you only have a very like you only have a very small range of attacks that you can actually win, and it just is one of those maps where it gets down to that final, 7-4, 7-5, and finally someone finds an edge.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I do think it's going to be very much based on those kind of attacks and I would say, limited success we're going to find there. In old Consulate, obviously, the basement was kind of a guaranteed win if you could get that plant down due to
Yeah.
the sort of long angles. That has somewhat been patched up, but you still do have a lot of cover for the attack. So getting a plant down in that basement is going to sort of still be your priority. It's nowhere near as kind of game winning as it once was, but it's still very strong there. I guess the other sort of attacking wins you could maybe look at is looking at that sort of first floor site. If we see that split site, you could also see a cheeky attack win there, but could also just completely catch them off guard because I still think that split site is probably going to be your least played one just due to the amount of extra setup and effort you have to put in to defend it there. So we're probably going to see a cycle of basement, then top floor, and then probably piano. We saw quite a bit of piano at the major, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe we'll see that take one of the top 2 spots. But usually teams are very comfortable on basements and second floors.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, you can even look at Oregon, you can look at Clubhouse. That's the standard ones that you see being the best sites. Chalet is a little bit of an exception to that, but in general, you have your basement, you have your top floor. They're very, very strong. So that's what we're looking at for Consulate then. It's a map that's going to play into a lurking play style as well. Like, there are a lot of nooks and crannies here. It's sort of similar to Villa when that was in the pool. There's a lot of places where you as a defender or an attacker can hide to cut off rotations, but where you as a defender can hide to sit in a corner, and particularly thinking like vending on the top floor as well. It's a very tough spot to actually clear defenders out on, and it's such a powerful position for the defense to play. And that entire hallway, in fact, is a very, very strong place as well. So again, it's a similar thing. There's lots of these positions that are very, very tricky to clear, but hold so much power for the defense.
Yeah, and another thing you got to always consider is time. A lot of the time, teams will face a bit of initial resistance. They'll burn drones on Aroma, but then they just won't have the time to really fully clear everything else, and it results in a lot of misdroning, a lot of potentially free kills that are missed from the attack, and a lot of lost rounds for them. So they're going to have to be careful when it comes to sort of balancing all these factors. And the first thing here, a defensive side starting banning Twitch very sort of confused with that, really. Twitch obviously would speed up that clearing process a bit with the drone, but
Yeah.
we've seen sort of almost power creep in the attacking side to where there's just operators that do that a lot better. You know, thinking around that Flores or that Bravo, you kind of get more usage out of it. Monty being banned as well is a little bit more sort of understandable. It allows you to speed up that clearing process and sneak in a couple plants as well. So just want to get rid of that. The important thing here, though, Ying making it through the ban phase, it's always going to be a difficult match for the defense if that operator can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. Also seeing Twitch get banned away makes me feel like maybe we might even be seeing Fenrir get through as well. Obviously, still opportunity for him to be banned, but no, it will be Solus. So Fenrir being able to get through as well, obviously Twitch is very, very useful to take away those FNAT mines that are active, just because they're usually placed high on top of doorways. Flores can't reach it. You drive in the Twitch drone, you're able to shoot them out. It's the same thing with possibly you're looking to play a lot of Goyo. You want to have that utility ready and active. And even here, we can see Dex floating the Malusi. Again, another operator that has bulletproof utility until it's activated, and then it just sort of sits there, and Twitch is really effective at taking it down.
I am confused, Cameron. We're seeing the Tachanka being played in the first round,
and Thorn and Malusi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thorn, actually, I can see the vision with Rizraz on the Tachanka there. Usually in old Consulate on that top floor, you'd want a smoke playing somewhere, and the smoke brings with them area denial and a shield. Tachanka brings both of them. Granted, the area denial is by no means an improvement there. It's a straight downgrade to the smoke grenades. I'm sure most people would agree. But you still get the shield out there. Dom, though, on the Thorn, that's really confusing. Sure, the Thorn allows for a bit of area denial, a bit of pressure on the attack.
Decent gun.
But a decent gun, I suppose, but it's such a sort of slow to activate utility that you're very rarely going to get picks off it. It's quite easy to spot, and on top of that, you're only bringing barbed wire. You don't have that kind of excuse of the shield that Rizraz can use, so I'm very perplexed by this defensive lineup. Luckily, the attack seems to be fairly standard, though.
Yeah. They did leave the default cam up, including while they have an IQ on board. And that's going to mean that the defense now know exactly the composition that this attack inside of AGM are going to be going for. So you can get a bit of a better read in towards that, and hopefully, for their sake, be able to prepare a little bit better against this. We can see admin already under heavy control, heavy pressure from this attack inside. It's what you tend to see heading into these top floor attacks, admin and through manager's office and copy, and then it's this hallway with the vending machine that takes up a lot of your time, a lot of your utility, because that's that power position behind the vending machine, like we talked about in the pregame.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a default camera up there. I can't lie. Luckily,
so many
spots
default
it
cams
before nothing gets really out of hand there. But that was a lot of intel being fed towards the defense. So luckily, they took it down as quick as they did. As Kai is taking a lot of damage fairly early on, but it's actually Don to be taken down first by Cake on that hard breach roll. It must have been some kind of peek through a window there, because the wall wasn't even open by the time that pick was got. So bit of misplaced aggression from E-Wave there. Luckily, still, they've burnt away more than half of that clock, so they're in a decently commanding position, and with all 20 of those Molotovs as well, things are still looking quite decent, but Larry's got a lot of utility to deal with up here. Takes down the Banshee, but can't find an angle on that Goyo canister. Might just choose to move past it now. They can't really afford to waste any more time here as we're into that final 60 seconds. A nade goes out onto Yannick, luckily saved by the Magnet, but still dealt a lot of damage. There's a lot of low HP sort of players in this lobby, but still 4v4, 4v5. We've got quite a bit of space for defense to work around as the timer is still going down.
Yeah, and there's the first Vulcan canister as well. We can see Rizraz starting to use these Shumika launchers as well. Just starting to deny some of the areas that this attack want to start entering the bomb site from, especially that safe plant spot behind the side. Yannick, prone, finds a kill, trades it up and evens us out into a 4 versus 4. Takes down Souther. Now with only 20 seconds left, these Vulcan canisters still standing as well. They burned the 22nd. That's so much damage. Yannick's found a second. Low HP doesn't matter now. Traded out. Rizraz, Dex get kills. It's all on Cake. It's going to have to be an ace or he's nothing. And he is nothing. Taken down, demolished by Rizraz there with the LMG. Headshot cleanly delivered.
Yeah, it was just so much utility there, really, as we've entered a pause here. One of these players isn't quite in the lobby yet, so we've gifted them a bit of a pause there. I believe now it is. Oh, no, still 5v4, so we are just waiting, but the time is still going down. Is it a rehost?
I've been told, I've been reliably informed by our observer that we are going to head into a rehost. So
Okay, so you get to see our faces for
yeah,
a bit longer. After that first round, though, the big thing, the attack got the opening pick, but the utility game was far too strong for the defense. We saw those Molotovs from the Tachanka. We saw the Goya canisters as well. As you said, burning 20 seconds each on those canisters is such a long time that it allowed for E-Wave to really salvage that round there. And that's a
yeah.
very sort of common thing you'll see on Consulate, just based on how big a map it is to clear. It often takes a while before those executes get going, and there's a lot of cover for those defenders like the Tachanka to play behind. So expect to see a lot of rounds really won off of time here because it's the defender's greatest tool.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very big map, and even on that top floor where you can see there's nothing going on the other two floors, it still takes so long to get yourself established in a position because all of the defensive utility is also concentrated on that top floor. So it's not just you have all of this attacking utility onto the top floor, but the entire map is set up. It's all concentrated up there, and it is just sort of that war of attrition.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a real test for AGM on that first half to try and deal with that utility relatively early. Obviously, you have tools like the Flores, which is very good at dealing with utility like the Goya canisters, Malusi as well, that has bulletproof gadgets. So obviously, there's that choice. Although Flores drones, they're loud, they're quite slow, they're quite large, and they're limited in their movement. So it's going to be difficult to get them close to sight without being zapped out. So there's your first problem. On top of that, you don't have the twitch, so there's no kind of possibility for long range stuff. Brava could potentially do it, but honestly, Brava's even slower and larger drones than Flores. So
Yeah.
again, it's this kind of balancing act, and with the sort of loss of nades from a lot of operators, it's really forcing AGM to make some pretty difficult decisions here.
Yeah, absolutely. It all kind of combines into a sort of perfect storm here with this attack in utility and everything like that. It just makes it so difficult to attack on Consulate. Obviously, had we seen the new season, then a lot more operators would have those grenades, including, OSA and some other operators like that. But obviously, we've had that delay. We don't mean to harp on about it too much, but it is a talking point, right? Because
Mm.
teams probably would have prepared for sort of games this week and the upcoming week to sort of be on that new patch. There would have been sort of some test server shenanigans, I assume, and things like that, even if just watching other people do it, because obviously you don't necessarily get those test server changes on the console side of things. But even still, just getting some of that information, figuring out how you're going to play, then to have that delayed is going to, sure, it means you can fall back onto some of the stuff you're more familiar with. But again, it means that there's a lot of nades missing from the lineup that
Mm.
we would have had if that change had come through.
Yeah, that's the big thing, the nades, and teams would be trying to deal with site setups without them. And now obviously they've been given it back. Question of, do we just stick with our original setup to help us next week? Or do we use the vertical nades while we're here? Personally, I think you could just use the nades while you still have them, to be honest. Just go back
Yeah.
onto those old strats. It's a sort of an ancient strategy at this point, really, that people have started using them ever since yellow pings were really brought into the game. There's been this massive influx in players just nading from below because it's so much easier. It doesn't require any kind of stalling in the communication department. You just place the ping down, go fire that nade. But with that going, obviously, there's a lot of changes that need to happen. So you can try and deal with that, or as I think you should, just play as if this is any other day of any other season, really. It
Yeah.
sucks, obviously, that we do have that delay because it's going to affect them. Some players might have even not like sort of wondered if this match would go on at all because, patch day tends to be quite iffy with servers. So maybe some of these players were expecting a day off here, but they're still here on Consulate and they've still got a lot of work to do for both sides. E-Wave was going to build a bit of momentum, winning that first round. Unfortunately for them, there's been quite a lot of time for both teams to sort of think it over. So now we're almost back at square one.
Yeah, that's for sure. And another thing to sort of say as well is just to do with that time again. We see the Montaigne being banned by this attack inside of AGM. That's something that they might have been able to utilize to get into better positions early, because you don't have to worry about just getting swung. You have that shield in front of you as a bit of extra security. However, obviously, when they go into their defense, that would then be a tool that E-Wave get to use. So it's that balancing act. And I feel like, considering what we saw from E-Wave, they look very confident on their defenses. That might have been a little bit of a misstep. We have to wait until the second half to say that for sure. And also, we're just getting another sort of crazy lineup. We kind of have 5 shotguns activated, 2 shorties, an ITA 12, a bailiff, and a primary shotgun from Rizraz. These operators are very, very strange. You've got a castle, which is not necessarily too off meta, but Oryx and Legion are definitely piquing my interest.
Yeah, Kai leaving here. AGM in this 4v5 immediately. It doesn't... I'm not sure what the ruling on this is going to be. We've already had that rehost. So I think this might just be a situation where they play on. That's effectively a free spawn peak for E-Wave there. I didn't quite catch who Kai was playing. Luckily, they still have some kind of gadget denial in that Brava and the Ash. They've got hard breach. They have a bit of roam clear as well on the Lion. So it's still a fairly well-rounded lineup, but losing a body like that is just a massive disadvantage for the attack.
Vapix is just going in very quickly. Even the proximity alarm going off still means he can catch out Yannick. Brings it back to a 4 versus 4. A lot of damage dealt, so now back to even man count with an untraded opening pick. That's the power of the 5 versus 4, but for E-Wave now, they're in a much weaker position because their sort of main man here on the top floor holding down this vending position has been taken out very easily.
Yeah, 2 of those attackers up there as well. They could try and maybe leverage that that sort of spatial man advantage to pincer these defenders above. They're quite isolated, but it's still a big risk because if you go for trades, eventually the defense will win it out. So you want to try and get another pick here, ideally, as Larry's playing very, very aggressive. But it's Sutter, in fact, taking down Rizraz. These attackers now need to try and get together. Unfortunately, though, Don gets that vertical C4, leaving that remaining attacker of Larry alone. There's no potential for a trade now, so he has to step very, very carefully around here. But luckily, the defense have moved back down to that first floor, giving the attack a little bit of respite.
We can see how much difficulty Larry is having watching through these vertical angles. Kai was playing on the RAM as well, I've just checked. So that's possibly where a lot of this vertical presence was going to be coming from. Instead, they have to use that other utility to be able to open up these holes as well as just shooting them out. It's going to be a lot less disruptive for the defense, and it's going to be a lot easier for the defense to hide from some of these angles than if you did have the RAM playing alongside the rest of this explosive utility. So with 35 seconds left, Onus on the attack, they need to transition down to this bottom floor. The E1D comes out, and that's a perfect time for the player inside of that lobby just to rotate away, just to try and find something. Still peeking for the kill. Larry in a very tough spot. Possibility for a crossfire being held here by these defensive players. Instead, Dex going to come up close. It's Dex with the super shorty who finds the first kill. Cake now taking some damage, takes down Don. That's the mirror inside of the corridor, but now up close and personal. Dex gets taken down. It's a 1 versus 4. In goes Alyo, and there's no time. E-Wave have their second round. Just about.
Just horribly botched shots from the attack there. From all sides, really, at the end. We saw Dex given a freebie on a planter, but can't get the pick. We then saw the response come out, and somehow Alyo manages to escape that. I'm not sure how. There was plenty of sort of... There was plenty of time before the Ash even saw them, so they really should be sort of banking their lucky stars, because that was looking to be an AGM round despite the early leave there. So E-Wave, sure, you've gotten those 2 rounds now, but AGM have shown to be a very strong team, even when they're put at that inherent disadvantage. Now with all 5 on their side here attacking this basement, things could get pretty close. We could even see AGM walking away with a round win here. If they can get that plant down and get sufficient coverage, things could easily tip in their favor here. Of course, they'd still be 2-1 down, but AGM have shown to be a strong team so far, especially after that last round where things weren't going well early on. They definitely managed to pick themselves up when it came to the execute. And E-Wave need to ensure that they don't let these rounds slip away.
Yeah, and again, we saw the defensive team Aspire win 2 rounds. They win the first 2 rounds in the last map, and just look how that ended out. Still, all is not lost for this side for AGM. They still have a possibility to even win the half. With as defensive as Consulate seems, there's still a possibility for a really good half here for AGM, and it starts with this round. We can see these vertical nades starting to be used as well. This is what we like to see. And this could very easily result in a kill if this player upstairs isn't careful enough, but instead Souther just cooks it a bit too much. It's not going to result in anything. That's Don upstairs, who was very close to getting the ground just exploded beneath them.
Yeah, and Don's still playing a fairly risky position here. Souther is eventually going to pick the second nade, but shots go out instead, sort of compromising what could have been a free kill as Rizraz instead takes down Larry. Dex as well. A fantastic response considering the end of that last round from E-Wave here. Starting off incredibly strong as it gets even better. A 5v2 now. Don cleaning up these players down below. Cake is forced to try and get aggressive. Eventually takes down Dex, but it's still a 2v4. Kai as well, just holding the angles, trying to maybe catch one of these defenders getting a bit too aggressive. Mind you, this is a basement defense. I don't think a single engagement has happened anywhere close to the site here, as E-Wave are just holding the attack thoroughly back.
There's a player on those server stairs as well that might be able to get a wallbang on towards Kai if they get particularly lucky to get particularly like they want to go for that. Instead, Rizraz just holding the angle, just not getting too aggressive, making sure they stay in their place, and it's forcing this attack from AGM to actually go and do something, and it's taking a lot of time. Some utility misuse as well. Kai getting on through. Don does start get a bit curious, and well, curiosity killed the cat and certainly killed Don inside of this round. With 50 seconds left the attack, they need to start moving downstairs, transitioning to that bottom floor, and there's still a player upstairs that could potentially look to catch them out. I believe that's probably going to be Yannick, as now Alio's in a tough spot. The breach is starting to be opened up. Pressure from the hatch above him, but it actually is going to be finding Cake. Steps into the goo mine as well. That time, though, Impact Trick doesn't land, and Yannick finally completes that flank from the upstairs. 20 seconds, it's all on Cake in a 1 versus 3. Player to the left, player to the right, and he's going to get taken down. Rizraz with the swing, and that's the 3rd round for E-Wave.
Yeah, that was a very, very convincing round for E-Wave there, especially after how things looked to be going pretty poorly, given the execute in that round 2. But they really managed to sort of set a statement win there. They've completed their entire site rotation here, back to the top floor, continuing with these kind of peculiar operator picks, the Tachanka and Thorn being brought once again. But hey, they worked last time, so who are we to criticize? Goyo as well, the sort of linchpin of that defense being brought to continue with that strong area denial. As for AGM here, things are getting pretty bad. Already, E-Wave can't lose this half. They've locked in a 3-3 half. And even then, that would require AGM to win 3 rounds in a row, and they just haven't looked all too competitive. Sure, we've seen sort of glimpses. Round 2 looked to be going their way, despite Kai being dropped out incredibly early on. But it still didn't go their way. They still are sitting with a big fat 0 in their round count. So they need to sort of desperately fix things here, potentially play more as a team. We saw a lot of those attackers getting caught off guard alone. No potential for trades there. If they can at least play the trade game closer to the execute and then go a bit all out, we could see success here. But to be brutally honest, E-Wave have just completely outclassed them so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke in the pre-game as well about Consulate being a defender-sided map. And, you know, getting 2 attacks is probably the best that you can realistically hope for. However, by this point, you'd at least expect to have 1 attack. But AGM have, like you said, just kind of been outclassed at the minute by E-Wave. Obviously, that could all change by the time the second half rolls around. But it doesn't look like AGM are having that fight in them so far. So that's another area. You know, we said they're losing some gunfights. They're not playing their trades effectively, and when you go into the defense, that's still those fundamentals that you're going to need to utilize, especially when you have a worse weaponry, because attack generally tends to have the better guns.
Yeah, absolutely. They have those rifles, whereas the defense stuck with those SMGs. But the defense have the inherent advantage of being, well, the defenders. And we saw that play a crucial part in round one. It looks to be playing another crucial part here. This time, though, seeing that Flores getting a lot of work done much earlier on. We're still in that opening half of the round, and already a Banshee and a Goya canister taken out here. That's going to give the attack a lot more free access to that corridor as we get close to the execute. But Yannick, still behind those vending machines. We've got Dex as well playing by that long desk. So there is a crossfire established here. It's up to AGM to really force these defenders out. They've managed to drone out Yannick. That's the first step. They aren't going to get caught off guard, but still, getting rid of that player is far, far easier said than done, given it's such a tight, strong angle there that Yannick can continue to peek, continue to buy time. Dex, though, taking a bit of fire there, I believe that's from Larry. So if Dex is taken down, that could be the sign to just go as Cake pushes ever so closer towards his position. If he gets this kill, things could go very well, but instead, Kai and Larry drop. Eventually, Cake gets one, but it's a 4v3. Dex finishing off their food, and things just still don't look good for AGM here.
Dex now pushing out makes it a 3 versus 3 by virtue of dying. Now, Vulcan Canister is at least good for it. The Razor Bloom going to delay the plant at least for a second. There's another kill that comes on through, but the plant denial isn't quite working out. Cake still found a safe corner here. The swing comes on through, though. Don finds one, finds a second. Now all they need to do is wait for these flames to clear, because E-Wave, they will have a second round as soon as they can get this defuse off, which now Rizraz does successfully. 4 rounds to 0. E-Wave, there's no stopping this train, it looks like.
Yeah, and it looked for a moment there like AGM had a chance. The Tachanka Molotovs there just weren't quite doing the job. Obviously, not as big a range, not as easy to position as those smoke canisters, given that they bounce. So it looked like a plant was going to get down successfully with some coverage, but unfortunately the cover wasn't anticipating such a quick push there. Really good play from the Thorn of Dawn there to just make the most of the situation, understand that your strategy wasn't working, and go for a bit of an aggressive play. And of course, they had the man advantage to go for it. They could continue to just play for trades, and they were in that 3v2 spot. So Dawn just goes for it, gets one, gets two. Fantastic from him, stopping any kind of additional win condition for AGM popping up. And as he said, it's allowed for E-Wave to go 4-0 here. Flawless so far, as AGM just haven't been able to really deal with any of these problems that E-Wave were throwing at them. Aside from that round 2, where they were thoroughly backs against the wall in that 4v5, thanks to Kai being disconnected. But after they've gotten their full 5 back, they've just lost that fighting spirit. They've lost that sort of pace to their attacks, and instead, they're offering themselves up to be slaughtered.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this was the closest round, and it was when they had to play a 4 versus 5. I say this was the closest round. When attacking onto this bomb site the previous time, it was the closest round we've seen. So now playing at a 5 versus 5, this could be the chance that they have to get a round on the board and potentially even push for a 4-2 half, which, considering how average and how standard that half is, it would feel like a bit of a robbery if AGM were able to get away with finding these last 2 attacking rounds, and they'd have a bit of momentum heading into their own defenses. So certainly a tantalizing prospect for the attack here, but obviously you need to be able to win these rounds first. Again, this one came down to a 1 versus 1. It came down to time. Now that you have the Ram who's going to be able to help you open up those vertical angles, who's going to speed up that entire process, hopefully they're looking in a better place.
Yeah, but they've still got to dislodge these defenders first, and we've seen how strong this E-Wave defense on that top floor can be, and that basement defense, for example. None of those roamers were really dislodged at all. Sutter, though, immediately going with a bit of a faster pace. Larry as well pulling up yellow, and Yannick taken down immediately again. Well, the very least down. They can't pick themselves up. It's on the rest of E-Wave to formulate a plan to potentially keep that Oryx alive, but they might just be left out for slaughter. Larry gets in a bit of an engagement there on yellow stairs, but still, things going quietly.
Yeah, the confirm comes through, but 2 quick kills in succession for E-Wave means they have the advantage again, and Souther's taking a lot of damage from these goo mines as they just litter the floor around this top floor. And it's still 4 versus 3 for this defensive side holding the advantage. They've got C4s as well. Ridrad throws one out, just pre-placing it, preparing to explode it when the time comes. As we head into the final minute now of this round. It's still taking a while for this attacking side to really get anything done. We can see again, now that the Ram is dead, you're having to use these breaching charges, and the C4 comes up. The pre-place takes down Vapex. It's now into a 4 versus 2 with 40 seconds left. The defense in a very good spot here to just be able to hold on. So that rotating down, pushing down these spiral stairs and taking out Cake now above, left in the clutch. Does have the case, but still has 4 players trying to find this position. Has to drop down. This door is open. There are some yellow pings, but his way is blocked, and that's going to telegraph the position here. Dex as well, just holding close with the shotgun. Cake might be aware of this position, but as we head into red time, he is just going to have to go. And there's the shotgun. There's the shorty. There's a 5th round for E-Wave Esports. Absolutely dominant.
Yeah, indeed. I'm hoping I can be heard on stream because we had a bit of a technical fault on my end. But it's from the sound of things, it seems very much like business as usual. E-Wave up 5-0 as I've got a feed once again. Lucky me. Yeah, AGM, what is there really left to try here? You've had 5 rounds of chances on your consulate attacks, and unfortunately for you, things just haven't gone well here. This last attempt, really, even if they win this, just with the nature of consulate, you got to think that maybe things have just already too late. Winning your last round is at least something. It gives you a bit of a springboard heading into that second half. But aside from that, things are just so grim. 5 rounds for E-Wave already. Only 2 required on their attacks. And this is a team that have shown to be playing pretty good together so far in their defenses. So if you just apply that kind of principle to their attacks, you've got to imagine they're going to win 1 or 2 rounds. So AGM have to win this round. But it might also just not really matter. They might have just left it too late here as they've just been completely dominated.
It's looking like AGM are in a rough spot, to put it incredibly lightly. You can see the first sort of aggression here coming through. Do you have the Dockerby call? It's giving away some of the positioning. Don's taken some damage, but is able to dip away. Takes down one of the drones as well. And that's another thing to try and look for, is that information game. Vapex had the read there on Don's position. Finds the opening pick for what feels like possibly one of the first times in this game. AGM getting off to a good start.
Yeah, but we've seen that time and time again, really. I think 2 or 3 rounds AGM have had quite good starts, but they just start getting picked apart when it gets that mid-round. So congrats on taking down the Fenrir. That's going to limit the kind of adaptability of that defense. Any of those activated dread mines will still be active, but there's no chance to change them around now. And it looks from things, I was going to say they had intel on another person, but Rizraz doesn't have taken down Vapex, so they didn't have the full kind of drone intel they needed, and it resulted in one of their players losing their lives. Souther is already on site as Rizraz gets a second. He can still apply a bit of pressure here, but Cake has to get there too for it to really mean anything. If he gets caught off guard away from the site, this could all be for nothing, as Kai now is moving closer to the cafeteria as well. E-Wave have no idea, Cameron.
Yeah, Yannick's still on the top floor, and Solar just holds the angle. There we go. Now they're aware Alio is going to get taken down, but did spot the players. He's able to get that call, and the drop comes through. Wall bang from Dex. Takes down Solar. There's another kill from Rizraz. It's all on Cake now. Takes down Dex at least. But still 2 players left to find. 70 seconds left on the clock. It's still plenty of time for Cake to try and work this. But no, Yannick swings round, has rotated all the way back down, and it's a flawless half. E-Wave on top, baby. This is so incredible.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason we don't see Consulate that often, because it just tends to be a steamroll when the better team just is in full control, and E-Wave are looking to be just that. 6-0, only 1 round required now on their attacks to get through here to that sort of upper bracket. only one win away after this. I guess 8 rounds away from getting to the finals at this point here. They just have to lock it out here. And it's impossible, really, for AGM here. We've seen teams make these comebacks, but it always results in a colossal sort of mistake from the team that's up 6-0. And E-Wave, I just don't see that happening at all. They're playing with such discipline, with such quality, with such good teamwork. They have effectively probably already won this. Of course, you can't let that mentality take hold. You need to keep trying. You can't afford to let rounds slip away. The way the Swiss system works, it does take into account, I believe, round diffs at points. So it could still make all the difference here. But they can sort of play with a bit of comfort, a bit of confidence, knowing that they are 6-0 up, and the entire sort of match is won at this point.
Yeah. Like, for all we've said about AGM and how disjointed they seemed, E-Wave could still muck this up. It's, it's not over till it's over. Play to the whistle, etc., etc. However, you'd have to have a pretty catastrophic time to also get 0-6 on your attacks, because while it's still possible, it's very tough. But Sutter does find the opener, taking down Riz Raz. I thought maybe the Mozzie there would just get caught off guard, but instead it's able to find the kill, and it's advantage yet again here for AGM. This time, though, they are able to afford to sit back to let the attack do the work, to push into them, to walk into their lines of sight.
Yeah, E-Wave have got to really be proactive here to try and get this win. Alio tries to get the trade. Apex taken very, very low on that Thorn, so they can still play behind the shield, but any kind of stray damage looking potentially at Alio's nades there could be to seal the deal. Vapex could very easily be taken out here, but E-Wave aren't really too much into that explosive utility. If Yannick can get a drone nearby, it really forces a difficult decision out of that Thorn, but they're still fairly safe in that position by the vending machine so far, as Dex has seemingly coiled onto Larry's flank here. Larry himself knows he's not fully safe, but has that laser giving away his position. I don't know if Dex saw that. Larry is still in a very difficult spot here. He could make a play, and it seems like Dex hasn't noticed, but Alio did. Whoa, Larry just sneaks away. He can still survive here, but he's forcing a bit of time wasting from E-Wave here. Into that final minute now is a lot of attention now brought onto that Warden, who has legged it to the other side of the map.
Yeah, E-Wave really don't have much control here at all over towards this top floor. Yannick sending one of these Flores drones down is able to clear that shield, but still so little time. You've still got players trying to clear roamers that may or may not even still be roaming. They're not sure. And indeed, it's all 5 defenders on the site. You're playing into a 4v5 on the site. Dex now trying to come at least from a different angle, but no, rotates back round towards Visa with only 25 seconds. They don't even have the case in their hands yet. Cake's going to take a lot of damage as well. Razor will give away some of that positioning. Don on the push through finds one. The mirror window as well. Powerful positioning. And the swing comes through as well. Now knows of the mirror's position behind the table as well. Cake so low. 10 seconds. We head into red time. Yannick's going to have to make the push in soon. Dex has been taken down. There's kills back and forth. It's a 3 versus 3. Alio with the cover, but Don is downed. It's now 1 versus 1. Taken down. Yannick is going to be able to secure the plant, but now 2 defenders coming back for him. Flashes himself, but just sends the utility out anyways. Souther catches the rotation and Larry shuts it down. AGM have their first round on the board.
1 down, 5 more to go for AGM here, and it was a decent round there. We saw a lot of good play throughout them. We saw good gunfights. We saw a very good sort of concept of how they want to win the round on that timer. Great bit of time wasting from Larry, even if he was a bit lucky there to survive where he really shouldn't have, but still he made the most of that situation. E-Wave, they've still got 5 more attempts this attack, so they're by no means sort of out of it at all. They've got plenty of opportunities here. AGM still have a lot of work to do, but they showed good knowledge of those fundamentals in that first round. So there is potential here for them to put up a very good fight on their defensive half, but E-Wave have shown to be a very strong team. So AGM still, they just need so much to go right, so much sort of luck to go their way as well. As we saw in that last round, if you get that pick on Larry, very likely that E-Wave could have won that. It would have sort of meant that they got to execute a lot quicker. And if the dominoes fall in the right way, we're looking at a 7-0 here. The dominoes didn't fall in that way, so AGM still have a shot here. But we saw a little bit out of their control, stuff out of their control that led to that round win, and they can't keep relying on that. As we're seeing, is that a basement defense without reinforcing the garage wall? Are they trying to fake the setup?
Attacker's objective is to defuse
Someone's invisible.
Whoa. Incredible.
We're not even on patch. We can't even have the excuse of it's patch day. This is just
No.
happening. Scary things going on in Consulate, folks.
Incredible. Yeah, this is why we don't see this map played so much. The place is haunted, bro. Riswas has taken a lot of damage actually, down to what 55 HP.
I think that was a nitro from Vapex there. He's missing it, and he's on the Mozzie, so he's a very sort of mobile defender. Still, though, it could come back to bite them because it means they're going to be much easier to take out on those verticals, but Vapex actually secures the other vertical player. That's Dex taken away. E-Wave still kind of floundering in these early rounds as AGM continuing to build a bit of pace.
Yeah, that's the thing. We saw E-Wave actually concede quite a lot of opening deaths in the first half, but obviously when you're playing on the defense, like you can still sort of play into that, whereas now you're attacking. You can't afford to be letting those moments slip, and Rizraz might just step into the lines of sight of this play here. Souther downstairs taking a lot of shots, did reveal his position, the pre-fire. Maybe Rizraz would have just walked into that angle had that pre-fire not come through. It's in fact Kai who finds that Larry is downed elsewhere on the map. That's Yannick with a long angle, but still player advantage for this defending side. There we go. Player should be spotted out, and there you have it. 3 versus 4 now secured by Don. Just a 1-player deficit. Half of the round has gone. There's only 75 seconds left, and E-Wave haven't really mounted any pressure towards the site yet.
Yeah, they haven't really mounted any pressure towards that extended roam either. They get 1 pick, but there's still 2 defenders moving around this ground floor, and with Don having that case away from sight, if he's picked up by one of these defenders, it basically means this round is near unwinnable. So these are defenders, these roamers have a big job ahead of them, but at the same time, with how low the clock has gotten, they could very easily just rotate back here. It looks to be a bit of aggression on the menu for Souther here, so there is potential. Vapex too, they might just go for a more aggressive play, but even hiding, playing closer to sight is a perfectly reasonable strategy here because it's such late into the round. 30 seconds remaining as E-Wave are still trying their best to get onto site.
Still a 3v3 on the site as well. Souther spotted Yannick upstairs, and now this goes from bad to worse for E-Wave. Alio caught in 2 minds. Does he go for the flank? Does he try and find that flanker? Instead throws up another track stinger. Don's found killed meanwhile. Downstairs, heading into red time yet again. Still yet to entry into the site now. Caught off by Vapex. There's another kill. Cake shuts it down. And suddenly a bit of momentum starting to creep in for this defensive side of AGM. You just got to question, when are E-Wave going to be able to break that momentum, if at all?
Yeah, this is the biggest sort of test for both of these teams now, as AGM are forced to go to what they deem to be a tertiary site. So we'll be seeing that split site from the looks of things, servers and tellers. E-Wave have been given really a prime opportunity here because this is what AGM would consider to be the weakest site. E-Wave just need to win 1 attack here. If they can get a round win here, they will win it 7-2.
Yeah.
The problem is it's quite a unconventional site pick here. It's not that press site where the piano is. Instead, it is this split site, which is very sort of unusual. This is, I think it must be the only map in the competitive pool that has a bomb site that's on 2 separate floors. And just due to the way that Consulate works, you can actually get very quick access into that basement through that staircase that has the external wall. So we could see a rush from E-Wave. It doesn't look like we are, though. We're seeing that Brava being brought and the Dakaibi as well. There's nothing like a sledge or a blitz to really get instant access there. But still, you can very quickly get quite a lot of control here if you're on the attack. So E-Wave have such a prime opportunity here. But if AGM win, that could be the confidence boost they need as Rizraz takes a lot of early damage.
Yeah, yet again, we're seeing early aggression from Vapix, taking Rizraz very, very low. Vapix now trying to look out one of these top floor windows, nearly caught a player as well. Just unfortunately not to be. So Dex is going to stay alive for now, but here is another interesting one. That Mozzie Pest is just going to be pinged out. Dex should be able to shoot that away and allow that Clutch drone to drive on through. Nope, still alive just for now. Gets the drone out of the way. And there we go. That should be now the utility out of the way. Clutch drone even can drive in, start to take care of this defensive utility. But that has taken 50 seconds already just to get to this point, Joe.
Yeah, and I think Dex is quite horrified to realize there's not a lot he can really do with this drone. There's the Electro Claws from Souther, but they aren't really planning to have an attack by that wall, and Dex just deems it to not be worth it. Elsewhere, though, Rizraz downed in quite a long angle from the looks of things, and E-Wave are quickly realizing that they've wasted quite a bit of that time. They're rapidly approaching the second half of the round, and still no real damage dealt towards the defense here, and even when they allow their utility to slip through, it's not finding any value either as that Clutch drone. I don't think it's even done anything, Cameron. There's nothing for it to really get, so it's up to these guns to really make their marks.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of damage being dealt to Rizraz, like you just said, picked up now on 20 HP, and if E-Wave then lose this round as well, honestly, I'd hope to see a timeout come through just to chat things through, and one of the things they could maybe talk about is bringing along a thinker. However, Dex takes the heads-up play and takes down one player. Cake, though, has a double, now downed himself, effectively a 3 versus 3, unless these defensive players can get picked back up. Instead, Yannick is going to try and go for the kill. Another player downed on the downstairs. Vapix now retaking from the staircase, finds one. It's 2 versus 2. What a shot from Kai as well. Just to shut them down from long range. Alio, last player alive here, has the case, has 45 seconds, and is going to start to try and plant this to get into at least a semi-decent position. Vapex still just holding on. Now that diffuser is going to be confirmed. The plant now down. Defense spring into action. Vapex just watching for this angle. Kai is going to take some damage. Dealt them to Alio as well. Now he's got 2 angles to watch for. Head on a swivel. And he just doesn't know which way to turn, which way to look. And now he's taken down by this defense. It's 6 rounds to 3. Again, perhaps we see a timeout coming through. I hope so. And maybe we see a Finker, because we're seeing a lot of damage being dealt early on by this defensive side. Bringing along a Finker, A, it's nades, and B, you can maybe heal yourselves back up to be in a bit of a better position. As they're not playing smoke as well, you're not in danger of really getting too damaged by those smoke grenades. But it looks like maybe we aren't having a timeout here. This is not ideal. I want to see a timeout, because as soon as you get to 6-4, that's when it really, really gets dangerous.
That's one of those rounds. In fact, quite a few of these rounds they've lost, they warrant a timeout. That was such a winnable round there. We saw it was just a case of missed shots. There was great positioning. They got the diffuser down. The 2 defenders were separated. That was an ease. That had 1v2 written all over it. But he missed his shots. And that's gotta hurt mentally. You're gonna get frustrated after a round like that, and that's one of the reasons you take timeout, just get that mental reset. But E-Wave, I guess, have determined they don't need that. They're just gonna play next, and it's a kind of dangerous mindset if you aren't gonna sort of willing to take the time to sort of see where you went wrong and just process what happened and get over it. You're gonna start seeing a bit of a negative impact on your performance. E-Wave, they're not playing like the team that won 6 rounds in a row. They've conceded 3 so far in their attack. They're sort of not fully playing into these sites, really. Sort of key example of that, the Brava drone, which achieved nothing throughout Visa. They are not sort of playing smart here, and you'd think a timeout would be exactly what they need to set themselves straight, but they've not done that. They're continuing to keep going with this playstyle, and at this rate, when you start getting to 6-4, 6-5, there's going to be so much wind in the sails of AGM.
Yeah, absolutely. This is honestly a must-win round. Otherwise, we're probably seeing overtime. I feel like coming down from 6-0 down, it's not going to be a 7-4. It's not going to be a 7-5. This round is the must-win. So we'll just have to see whether E-Wave can do that. It's a good start. Don taking down Vapix, who's been doing a lot in this early round. Some damage dealt back to Don on that C4 from Souther, but at least it's an advantage for E-Wave for now. But still a minute gone. They have player advantage, not much control.
Diffuser has been dropped.
Yeah, not much control either, as we see Yannick attempt to get some map control, but goes back out to get the diffuser. At the very least, Dex doubles down that man advantage, takes down Larry, and that really does put AGM on the back foot here. They've lost that WAM ice, that's a bit of utility gone as well, and they've lost the Warden, so we start getting to a point where flashes are thrown into the site. Luckily, no smoke grenades, but still, Yannick can potentially get another freebie with that flashbang, but Souther takes down Alio. That at least works to even the odds, as these Goya canisters are going to quickly be popped as these Flores drones are making their way towards the site. E-Wave still not quite at the site doors yet, but they've gotten most of this eastern side under their control. It's just a case of getting through this mountain of utility as these canisters keep on getting destroyed. They're trying to force Kai back, but he can quickly retake that position. So it's just almost a waiting game here. You've got to deplete all of these different bits of utility, and then go for a quick execute here for E-Wave.
Yeah, they still have the player advantage, which is good, and there's no one inside of bending, which again is a very powerful position for the defense to play. We can start to see these window repels start to come through as well. The upside down on the breach now, that's a 3 versus 3. Kai finds a brilliant pick on towards Rizraz. He's been putting up some excellent numbers so far this game. 10 and 5 will be where he remains for now. Dex just watching, waiting for Kai to get aggressive here, proned on the floor with the SMG-12, but gets up at just the wrong time now, waiting for that swing and finds it. Done another, it's all on Souther to keep AGM alive in this match, and Dex with the SMG-12 nails him from long range. E-Wave just stave off what could have been a very, very dangerous comeback, because again, that momentum was starting to build and starting to get very, very dangerous.
Yeah, it looked almost winnable for AGM by there. Obviously, the mistakes of their first round came back to haunt them. They had no wiggle room on that defense, but things looked to be going pretty well in that second half, just not quite as well as E-Wave in their first half. Getting 6 in a row there, as we sort of said, basically already won. And E-Wave, they really wanted to test that statement. They really wanted to see if they could get a loss out of that match, but unfortunately, they still come out of it with a win. They still get towards that upper bracket of the Swiss stage. 1 win away now from qualifying to the finals. Very strong team.
Yeah, incredibly strong. And again, like you said, up to that 2-0, the first team actually to confirm themselves to that 2-0. Obviously, we have one more of those matches tonight. As you can see down below us, it's MDF versus Sevens Esports in this upper bracket, and then 2 more games tomorrow, and that will round out the week. As for this match, though, that's also pretty much rounded out. So we're going to throw it to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have our final match of the evening, MDF versus Sevens Esport. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back, everyone. Game 3 of the night, MDF versus Sevens Esport. And, well, it's gearing up to be a banger. I'm still Pastor, still joined by Poobal, and we have a lot to talk about for this one. So, MDF and Sevens Esport, obviously, they won their first games here. They're in this upper bracket, so they won their first game as Swiss. Excuse me, let's just make that a bit clearer. MDF with a 7-2 win over Cosmic Gaming, and Sevens with a 7-4 win against Wii Sports.
Yeah, it's kind of expected, especially for MDF. They maybe didn't have the strongest start heading into the group stage. Only, well, I say only 4-1. That's still pretty
Only
good.
4-1.
They were the third worst team.
Rubbish.
They were the third best team in their group, which also meant they were the worst team to go 4-1. So you take it with a pinch of salt, but still they aren't topping their group, which is what you kind of expect from a team that was in the finals last season. But nevertheless, they've come into the Swiss stage with an absolute bang. I believe they are sort of joint highest rated in the Swiss stage so far, getting that 7-2 win, along with Zach Gaming get a 7-2 win against Minions. So they're looking pretty good so far. Sevens Esports, 7-4 as well, by no means bad. That was against Wii Sports PS, who was second in their group, just below Tracker Clan. So they've both taken down some pretty sort of decent opponents, that you could say.
Yeah.
this is where we really kind of separate the weak from the strong, though, right? We see if it was a bit of a fluke here. If we see if these teams can really sort of stick with it and continue to be on these winning ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the map ban then, just to see where we are going to be heading up. 9 maps in the pool, 8 are out. We're left with Oregon. You immediately start yawning there, Joe. Um, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
Oregon.
Oregon.
I mean, however, you said this is where we start to weed out the weak. Oregon is a very fundamentals map. If they don't have that, they are going to get found. One of these teams will get found out, and they will get taken down pretty easily. So, at least there, we can definitely test: is it a fluke? Is it not? That sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a fake yawn, and now it's actually made me really want to yawn. So I'm going to blame Oregon on that. Add it to the list of that map's crimes because we've seen it so
Incredible.
many times. We hate it. Let's just be real. Let's just take away the mask. You probably hate watching it at this point because these teams love playing Oregon so many times.
23rd Oregon this
and,
season.
And it always seems to play pretty similar. It's always
Yeah.
kind of around a 3-3-4-2 split. You always see the basement sort of end up being that most sort of secure site to
Oregon, man.
defend. You always see teams waste man advantages on the attack because they spend ages just playing around on freezer stairs. It always happens.
Yeah.
The same things. So this isn't going to be some kind of groundbreaking match like maybe last before was on Consulate, where we did see a sort of relatively fresh map, a relatively sort of peculiar map as well, and how it played out with that 6-0 half. This is going to be very standard. It's just going to be Boregan, Snorrigan, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a case of, can MDF really continue to be this very strong team, or will they really get a run for their money from Sevens Esports? Because MDF should be winning this.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely should be winning this. I'm pretty sure I predicted MDF to win. I assume you probably did as well, as we actually are heading into the map already. So we can't exactly get it up. But I see Voight and Hotnix predicted Sevens. Everyone else did predict MDF. So that's me, Max, you, Rowan, Ogon, and I think someone else was in there. Yeah, Freddie G as well. So that's a quick rundown on the talent predictions as we have the first ban. Surprise, surprise, it's Ying.
Yep. Whoa, if only we had an operator who we could ban 53.7% of every matches. If only we had that operator, Cameron.
Oh,
It's
that would
Ying.
be so cool. Wait, it is?
We
no
we
way.
always see Ying getting banned, and it makes sense. But we've already been over this. The Nook ban, though, kind of interesting.
Joe,
we often sort of, what is it, Cameron? What is
so Ying's the most banned operator this season, right? Guess who's the second most banned? Well, in terms of attack, guess who's the second most banned attack?
It is Nook.
It is Nook.
This season's gone on quite a while, right? My thought process with the Nook bans is, now that we're sort of seeing a rise in gridlock play with the nades, you'd sort of see Nook not really getting played that much. But these teams are still banning her. So I'm a bit intrigued by that. Sure, I believe she sort of survived the nade purge that we've seen from so many operators. But there's still operators that do the job better. And we see Fenrir and Tillis get banned on defense. Like, who'd have thought the
two most banned
defenders would get banned on Oregon?
Incredible.
Who would have thought that would happen on Oregon? You're calling me surprised, but yeah, it's going to be. It just shows how standard of a match this is going to be. MDF, really, if they have a good grasp still of their fundamentals, they should be winning this out. They are our Season 6 finalists, put on a hell of a show in the finals, and they really want to get that crown here. So expect good play from MDF, but also don't count out Sevens Esports. They're in this winners bracket for a reason. They did pretty well in groups. They had a positive win ratio. I know that, 3-2 in a team with the new Minions team in it as well. So
yeah,
Sevens Esports did pretty well there, but MDF are looking to be a very strong team going into this.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking pretty strong themselves, and Sevens Esport, I think. Hold on. Sevens Esport. Which team were they before? Were they? Yods?
I know they started as Yard.
Yeah,
They
they
beat Minions
they beat
8-7.
Minions. That's probably one of the big things. I was just trying to look through the history there. Yes, they beat Minions in the group stage as well. So pretty decent, this team. They are coming up against MDF as well, who themselves are no slouches. MDF will start us off on the attack here. Again, it's pretty standard. It's just your slow box standard Oregon. You've got the basement site coming out first. I mean, it's just bread and butter. Apart from that run out from Xerox, who, well, ill-advised, taken down immediately.
Yeah, and it's one of those active sort of utility defenders. The Wamai
Yeah.
continues to get more and more value the longer they stay alive, just based on them getting more of those discs. So you're not going to want them to die, say, in the first minute, but
That would
Xerox
be
even
bad.
just decided that was not necessary. I nearly panicked there because, unfortunately, Aina has an orange outline, but they are
Yep.
still an attacker, so all friends around Big Tower so far, but not for long, as it seems like Greem is going up those tower stairs with shotgun in hand, potentially trying to fish for an aggressive pick to even things out, but the attack just aren't giving him anything so far, more than content to hold these angles and pop those finger boosts. Navicious finally goes down, but Nitro doesn't meet anything, as surely Cream is going to just back down. Eventually does, but it takes a nade and a drone to really scare him off. And he's back for more! Taken down by Navicious. It's now 5v3 for the attack.
Pretty good start here for the attack inside. There's a lot of damage dealt to Zveriox as they try to burst on through, but finds a kill just as well. It's all on Scrim in a 1v5 to start off this. It's flawless from MDF. Just like that, they all press go and they all get kills. First round goes the way of the attack.
Yeah,
Maybe this isn't
MDF
standard
just
Oregon.
brutal. Well, some matches of Oregon are a bit standard. Still, MDF might just be a standard MDF match at this rate because they did an incredible job that round, really.
Yeah.
Fully playing into the aggression that the defenders shown and just completely wiping the floor with them. Easy win there for MDF, as it seems like a reattempt of the basement by Sevens Esports. I imagine we're not going to be seeing early runouts from Xerox or aggressive pushes from Green this time. You'd hope they'd play a bit more around their utility because they are bringing a hell of a lot of it. Wamai and Jaeger, mute jammers as well to block those drones, a Kayed and a mirror on top of that. So much for the attack to unpack there. But they're just sort of giving it away for free if they die so early. They need to maintain that man count, so they force the attack to actually play the utility game, because that's clearly what this setup is designed to do. But last round, the attack could easily just win it off of manpower alone, so a serious shakeup is needed in this Sevens Esports strategy to stand a chance against MDF here. So I'm going to hope that they're going to be a much more passive defensive side this round.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
Spawn Peak didn't work out, did it, from Xerox? And like you mentioned, when you have that regenerative utility like those Wamai magnets, you don't want to be trying to go for runouts. Leave that to, I guess, if anyone, Maxim on the Jaeger. But even still, ill-advised, you don't really want to do it. This time around, though, still some fairly aggressive defending. And Xerox is taken down early again. This time it's Veriox who finds that opening kill. Maxime trying to go up these stairs, similar to what Greem did in the previous round. This time, though, does fall back. Navicious again taking up this backstairs position and getting a lot of value from it. Just the pressure being created is keeping the defense on their toes.
Yeah, and again, they can start to sort of leverage this man advantage. We're seeing a bit more aggression now. Navish is even holding down those tower stairs, trying to pick off one of these defenders who might be attempting to even out this man count, but still, they're just playing. They're very much coyed into the way that 70 Esports want to play here. It's Veriox throws that Thatcher grenade down to try and assist the team as Aina just runs into the bunker, gets one and gets out again. It's just easy as that for MDF. They're completely dominating this defense now as the rest of these players are getting forced back. Maxime, the only player who could potentially catch one off guard, does end up getting Aina, but it's such a flurry of kills. The flank doesn't matter because MDF spring to life and get their second. This team just looking so damn good in their attacks so far.
Yeah, the gun's really coming alive for MDF at this point in the game. And they get 2 rounds from it. And again, it is just just guns, really. Like, sure, you had the Grim providing some form of area denial, but then you just get an incredible two-piece. Like, it's just ridiculous from Alex there. And really, Variox as well, getting that kill onto Xerox, who I don't know what the plan was, if they went for a run out for a second time, but clearly opening death 2 rounds in a row, not ideal. And, well, 2 losses on that basement for Sevens Esports, also not ideal. So they're going to head up to the top floor instead now. Still a good defensive site, but you'd wager that the defending the basement is usually better, Joe.
Yeah, and again, look at the Sevens Esports lineup. You're seeing the Jaeger, you're seeing the Mirror, Goyo added to the mix. All of these operators look to be like this is a defense based on draining down the timer. But from the way that Sevens Esports have played these rounds, they're playing very aggressive as if their win condition is getting these picks. They almost seemingly don't understand the way their own lineup works, and it's resulted in MDF picking up 2 pretty easy rounds. Another bit of early aggression, it seems, as there was potentially a spawn peak coming from that garage. You can see that Xerox, the sort of usual suspect, is down below, playing very aggressive on that Goya with still 2 canisters in pocket, Cameron. This utility that can be so pivotal. We saw it on Consulate, and he's got it in his pocket, playing for frags here.
I'm not a fan of that. Clearly you aren't either from the tone of your voice. It's just careless, and here comes Alex going in for the trade. Xerox opening death again and losing so much utility. Can burst that one open as well. Sure, 20 seconds burnt, I guess, for the player that's trying to come in through the garage, but now all of that vertical control now clear. Aina can get this breach open just as easy as you like. And they have a ping onto Scrim as well, who's just getting too aggressive for his own good. Pokes his head through where it doesn't belong, gets taken down for it. Now Shavan is at least playing behind a shield before that gets naded out. The RCE Rotero as well doing so much. Variox finds another. Maxime at least finds a swinging... at least finds 1, finds 2 actually, but still a 1 versus 3. It was a 1v4, but at least brought something back. Navishes is aware of this position as well. Is going to be sending shots through and finds the kill. However, I'm seeing a trend. First round, 0 MDF players died. Then 1. Now we've had 2. So by the end of this half... by the end of this half... The 7S will kill all of the enemy team.
Well, it would help if they used their utility, right? I mean, we pointed it out. Xerox, he has those Goya canisters in pocket. He couldn't have just placed them down somewhere just to help with the rest of his team. Instead, had to go for the aggressive play down there, and he pays for it. Again, this same player caught out 3 times in a row now, and now he's on Warden.
Oh.
I mean, I guess you're only sacrificing a Nitro there if he dies early, but still, you'd think instead of making him lose as little as possible on death, you would instead rather he just plays a bit more passively, plays around his team, plays around the site setup, because being opening death 3 times in a row there, it just kind of shows that this isn't working. It shows that MDF has clearly read into the way that 7 Esports want to play this. And yet here we see a Warden playing around Big Tower, look to just punch out a door. I think they've replaced it at the very least, but still, aggression is on Xerox's mind, and it has not worked out once so far. What is 7's Esport doing?
I'm really not too sure. I guess maybe that was just used to maybe destroy a drone or something that was sitting just outside the door. You know, that's something the defense does quite often. Just remove a barricade, shoot some drones, get it back up. But Xerox, again, considering the track record we've had, I'm nervous. I'm very, very, very nervous. So it seems like all 5 players are down here on the site. Greem is up close and has definitely been spotted by that RCE. So now Greem is going to be forced to try and do something, whether it's fall back or take a gunfight remains to be seen. But considering how we've seen Sevens play so far, I reckon the more aggressive option might be the one that's taken. As we can see, this first minute now gone down. It's a bit slower from MDF, but that's mainly because they haven't been fed any kills by this defensive side of 7's Esport. Just playing more like just standard, regular old Oregon, which for as much as we were complaining, I honestly welcome it because it means that Sevens might actually be able to get something done.
Yeah, we were eventually seeing the C-Box hatch get opened immediately. Shaman tries for the Nitro but fails, and look at the difference playing a bit more passive has made. Navishes eventually goes and gets one, gets
Oh my
two!
word!
Still alive by Tower, looking for a third, runs out of ammo in the mag, but still completely opens up this round for the team for the attack. It looked to be going so well for 7 Esports with Green going down, 4v2 now. Navishes finally traded out, but still they can get a plant going if they want. They just need to pick up that diffuser as Alex gets one, tries to go for the second, and indeed does get it, traded out himself though. And I was gonna say, look at the difference it makes being passive. You're making MDF spend so much more time, but critical angles weren't being held there, and it allowed for Navishes to simply just walk. He's not even running, he's just walking down those stairs. And
to be fair,
he gets
it was an incredible shot onto that player in the freezer. Like
it was incredible, but it shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
No, absolutely.
And it kind of shows Sevens Esport,
yeah,
even when they are relying on that setup, on the side itself, when they aren't conceding bodies so early,
yeah,
they still don't have a clue. They still simply look in this match like they don't have a clue how to stop MDF, who are now 4-0 up on their Oregon attacks. That's 3 basement wins.
I feel like the player inside of Freezer is probably the one that's supposed to be watching for that run down Big Tower, as we did see some Tracers come back the other way and just absolutely fried, and suddenly there's just 2 players that line up perfectly for Navishes. Obviously, that's not what you want. You want to be able to react in quickly and get trades, but it's an understandable situation how that happens. And then can I just say, the pattern continued because 3 players from MDF died that round. So again, round 6, 7 Seed Sport, they're going to be cooking something.
Yeah, but it might be too late. 4-0 up
definitely.
already. You know, ending this 1-5, heading onto an Oregon attack against MDF of all teams,
yeah,
isn't going to be the best look.
No.
Still, though, no opening pick conceded yet, and in fact, Maxime, finally, they get the opener, and they go back to site. Brilliant, untraded pick from 7 Esport here, and now it's onto MDF to try and solve this puzzle. This could be the lifeline that 7 Esport needed to get a foothold here in Oregon, but they've still got to convert the round.
Actual fundamentals on display from 7 Esport. It's cause for celebration. But no, the pick being untraded is definitely a massive factor of that. They're able to isolate a lonely player, which is huge. And they get back to the site, like you said. So the untraded part of that is good, but again, it feels like this is something that's just a fundamental of Siege, and it shouldn't have taken that long. Speaking of your fundamentals, Thatcher EMPs against the Kaid. Like, the Kaid should not be getting a trick off while you have a Thatcher on the board. It just shouldn't happen.
Absolutely. We're in year 9 now, Siege. These things, they're so easy to do. You have 3 of those EMPs. You can just use 1 away from the site, 2 on the trick. Finally, you get that hatch open, but you've wasted time. You've wasted 4 of those pellets, and you've wasted an additional EMP. That's 3 used on 1 hatch there, and that means these other areas are going to have less utility dedicated to them. Look at poor Aina here, trying to clear through laundry. No potential for EMPs to assist with that at all. They're going to be up against bulletproof cameras, nitros. They can't even flash anyone because there's ADSs too. Variox gets taken down 3v5. 7 Esport looking to get that first round on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that Aina's downed, it's a 2 versus 5. Sean finds that kill on to the attack in Habana. An impact grenade takes Alex down so low as well. Just does find one. That's Sean taken down, just swinging up. Nearly finds the second onto Xerox, who, well, assuming this kill gets confirmed, will get their first kill of the game. And there it is. Scrim finds the kill. And 7 Esport, they find 5 kills and find their first round here. They skipped that number 4, but more importantly, they still have an opportunity for a 2-4 half, which, all things considered, feels like it would be a robbery. But now they have to go back up to this top floor, which they didn't have success on the couple of times that they played it. So,
yeah. I mean, surely the clear answer here is keep Xerox on the leash. I don't like singling out on players, but when someone was opening death those first sort of 3 rounds, I think, yeah, 3 rounds, and still playing aggressively, of course you're gonna lose. But when you actually have him play closer to the site, allow for your other teammates to play a much more kind of cautious aggression and then go back downstairs, you get success. Obviously, that's sort of hinged on winning the opening engagement, and that's something that MDF have been very good at aside from round 5. So it's by no means a concrete strategy, but if I'm 7 Esport, I'm saying, right, Xerox, just play your angles on site. You're not having the greatest game. It happens. Oh well, we'll just adapt to it. Do not go downstairs with all 3 ADSs in pocket. Is he going for a spawn peek in small? Surely not. Surely it's a downstairs setup. I'm still seeing 3 ADSs in pocket, Cameron. I'm not liking this. He's finally putting one down. Must be an extended setup. My sanity can't take it if it's not.
I don't like this. I really, really don't like this at all. At least he's not dead yet, which is a good thing.
I don't think he was the player by small tower. I think he might be on site. We might have been saved from that.
Thank goodness. I think it might be green down there, yeah. And Alex is pushing in. They haven't actually... They've kind of neglected this bottom floor, actually. Green is still sitting down there. But it seems like that's not going to come of anything so far. Yeah, and actually the RC is going to be able to get that far shield that Sean is looking behind. And Veriox actually finds the opener as well. Maxime going down, that's your Frost. Not necessarily utility that's gone, but you're still getting utility going down elsewhere, and the weapon's still pretty decent. Low rate of fire, but it hits like a truck. Sean now low, now downed. So 5 versus 3 for this attack, making it 2 versus 5 even. Green now trying to retake up the white stairs. Completely missed these rotations, at least denying a flawless round. But, I mean, this one's pretty much over. Green nearly brought it close, but just not to be in the end. Veriox just a little bit too good for it. That got a little bit close. But still, 5-1 and you're now heading onto your Oregon defenses. Like, this should be closed out 7-1, because you have basement, you have top floor, there's your primary and secondary as a defense. You should not be losing these. It should just be a 7-1. Emphasis there on should.
Yeah, absolutely. But just this sort of annoying thing, I guess, about this matchup is we've seen isolated moments of greatness from these players on 7 Esport. I mean, look at Green in that last round. Yeah. Some insane plays there. Maxime as well throughout. It's just not working out in this matchup. MDF are just completely manhandling them there, and it just seems almost like there's nothing 7 Esport can really do here, despite their best efforts. These MDF players just more coordinated, just better on their guns, just overall better understanding of their win condition, of their game plans here. And it's allowed for them to get that 5-1 and as you said, it's almost a done deal here. It really should be. Winning 2 on your defense is by no means a difficult task on Oregon at all, especially for a team that's done so well like MDF has. So it's only really a matter of time unless they start severely throwing things. As Nabashiz gets a beautiful opener. Xerox, none the wiser. His 4th opening death, I believe, this match. Things just going from bad to worse as we swap sides.
Yeah, not a great start for the side of 7's Esport. Maxi might be in for a kill here, though. Navashiz dealing a lot of damage, but goes in for the reswing, taken down, punished for his hubris there. The pre-fire just too good. You don't want to be swinging into those traces. Aina, though, is certainly going to be on the hunt. It's actually Verix who finds that kill, and Aina maybe could have held the trigger a little bit. Spots Green, some more damage dealt, and yet again, Verix has found a second. The C4 onto Sean. Scream is low, Scream even lower. In a 2 versus 4, this is certainly not the start you want for 7's Esport, because if you lose this round, which, again, you're 2 players down, it looks very, very likely, then you're going to be on 5 match points against you. That's not great.
Absolutely not. With Greem getting downed as well, it's all on Scrim, so low health. Luckily, just is slow peeking that door, so he at least gets something out of this round, but still, he's just on a minute amount of health. All these angles being watched. Aina gets a headshot, but wouldn't have even needed it. Gets that pick and gets MDF onto
what a
match
shot.
point. 6 rounds for the German side here. And, well, it's kind of a similar situation as Concert, right? It's a done deal. It should be a done deal. Normative statement there. Should be. We've seen teams really try their hardest to make us curse them. So, MDF, ball's in your court. 1 defensive round remaining. Going up to that second floor now. Surely it's a done deal.
Surely.
Surely it's a 7-1.
Surely. I feel like how we're just like inviting the curse at this point. Like, the door is wide open. The welcome to my home doormat is out. Like, we've just got the smell of like a roast dinner just wafting out into the street. Like, the curse is pretty much invited in.
Yeah.
But 7S still need to actually do something.
Yeah, you can't all just kind of lump it on a curse. 7S have got a mountain of work ahead of them here. They've got to do just as well a job attacking as MDF did just to get to OT. There is no opportunity to get it done in 12 rounds here for the orange team of 7 Esports. Instead, they've got to go the distance. And with Scrim already getting down to around half health and Maxime taken down as well, Greem too.
Down.
It's a technical 3v4. I think Greem might get picked up. Nitro doesn't confirm the kill. But with Sean getting taken down, it's now a 4v2. Viriox is using his own echo drones to coordinate jump outs. MDF are just... They've done it here. 2v4 is Greem. It looks like he might not get picked up after all. Alex goes for a peek and Scrim still playing incredibly defensively. But this could all just be a done deal. MDF. So strong here, Cameron.
Toying with their food. Alex has at least been downed. I believe that's a nade from Scrim. Veroxo does take down Xerox to 4 versus 2. Xerox has already left the game. They're boomed. You can tell, like, that is maximum tilt coming through now as well. Greem obviously down to 20 HP, now dead. As Aina picks that one up, it's all on Scrim. 1 versus 4 as Alex is being picked back up, now confirmed. There are some yellow pings on it, but yeah, this one's over. No matter how long it takes, Scrim is not going to be able to find this clutch. There's just no way. Just at least hands himself on a platter. Incredible shot there from the gridlock, but still, 3 more players to find. Doesn't even have the case. There's more swings coming through from Alex. Low HP doesn't care. They're handing themselves up, but there's a swing. There's a kill. Aina shuts it down. It's been a substandard Oregon, I would say there, Joe. But nevertheless,
yeah,
it's been an Oregon, so we can't really say too much about it apart from just absolute dominance from MDF. They got 5 attacks, then just closed out with 2 defenses. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I said going into this is the sort of part of the Swiss stage where you separate the weak from the strong. And I kind of half meant it. I was just looking for a bit of a narrative to go into the Swiss.
Yeah.
And my God, the weak was certainly separated from the strong. There was a chasm between those teams, seemingly, as we now, I believe, do we have all of those teams locked in for the middle bracket? No, I think we still got the losers matches ahead of us. So we have almost, I believe, like half of the teams
so we
for
have
that middle bracket locked in.
Yeah, so we have just 2 more high bracket games to go, which are... Hold on, my brain is evading me. EOS versus Zach Gaming and Linus Defense League versus Mafia Squad. Now, those games are juicy. Let me tell you that right now. Those are some juicy matchups. And we can see that there are already those lower bracket teams, the O2 teams, the teams that are going to have to play best of 3s, are also already confirmed. That's your Tracker Clan, that is your Team Aspire, that is your Cosmo Gaming, and that is your MVG. 2 of those teams will be going home next week. Which is scary because we start to get towards that elimination. We start to head towards the finals as well. Teams getting promoted, teams qualifying in towards that final stage. And after that, best of threes all the way, best of 5 grand final. That's when it really comes to a head.
Yep, and it is, of course, worth noting this graphic is not depicting the matches. So those 4 teams in the O2 might not necessarily be fighting each other. It's just to sort of show where in the overall system these teams lie. Oh,
Oh,
the
O2
O2
is
games
just...
are set, we've heard.
Wow, they've
So
done the seeding
it
already.
it will be
Super
Aspire
fast.
versus Tracker Clan. And that MVG match should be against Cosmo Gaming, but there's some behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. There might be a forfeit there. So maybe just limit your expectations a bit. We might only have one of those OT matches. I hope we have both of them, but
Yeah.
that's just the way things happen sometimes. But still, we do have, as you said, those remaining upper bracket matches to finish off this second sort of stage of the Swiss system. So very excited for that. We've got some top teams still yet to play.
Yeah, LDL Mafia Squad especially is a game that I'm very excited to see what happens in that one. Mafia Squad did play in that same group as LDL. Actually, let's have a little bit of a sneak peek. It was a forfeit loss to Mafia Squad. Yes, because that's when they went to play a Fortnite tournament. I remember that because we were going to be casting that
Ooh,
game.
throwing them under the bus there.
Yeah, but hey, they still qualified, and Mafia Squad as well had a pretty decent result in their first round of Swiss as well. Yeah, they beat flawless 7 rounds to 5. So, they're a team that's been putting in at least, they've been putting in a lot of work. And yeah, sure, they might have come bottom of their group, but one of their losses was a forfeit loss. So lots of things up in the air for tomorrow, that's for sure. And then that will be the week concluded, Joe.
Yep, absolutely will. So we've still got really the sort of the best teams till last, I think we'll say. LDL went completely flawless in their group, not even dropping a point to OT. EOS had a surprisingly good run of things as well, really only limited by the fact that they were in a group with LDL. So I guess unfortunate for them. But yeah, we've got a
Wait
lot
a minute.
of I am seeing 3 out of 4. I just noticed that's three teams in Group D
Nope.
in
Count
those
again.
2 matches.
4.
4. Oh,
4.
I'm not sure how that's worked out, but it's just a day of Group D rematches, I guess. But
Yeah,
sort of high
Group
stakes.
D,
So
very strong, I guess. I don't know.
they've all won their matchups, so
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Well, that's tomorrow. We're done for today. It's
Yep.
been a wonderful stream. We've had Bosamax on the sticks. We've had Voight behind the scenes running the show. I've been Pasta. I've been joined by Pooble. That's it for ESA Cup today. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.